My name is Kaya Nagonio. I am a survivor living in Los Angeles, and I am broadcasting on all podcasting frequencies. I will continue posting this podcast every Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when the sun is lowest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide education, I can provide information, I can provide entertainment. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone. We are all freelancers, and we have to hold each other up during these times. So I thought, what better way to do this than to create a podcast with different guests from different industries that are all equally being affected by this virus, by the coronavirus, otherwise known as Covid19. If you want to skip around, I've put time codes down in the description for our different guests. But I hope you'll sit through the whole thing. I hope you'll learn something new today. And I hope this episode will help you survive your quarantine during this outbreak. No matter what happens, remember, we will come out of this on the other side. We will be stronger, we will be closer, and the work will come back. The money will come back. Our health will come back. Welcome to Project Freelance. I'm your host, Kaya Nagonio. Let's get into this episode. All right, well, welcome to the podcast. I hope you liked that dramatic opener. If you haven't seen I Am Legend, I highly recommend you go watch it. It's about the end of the world. Will Smith is the star of the movie. There's a dog in the movie. It's a great movie. There's zombies. It's great. Anyway, let's get into this podcast about the coronavirus and how it's affecting different industries. So, like I said a few seconds ago in that monologue, you can jump around and listen to our different guests that I have on this podcast. There are 12 guests on here, and I will let you know down in the description who each guest is and the time code where they start talking. So if you want to just jump around and listen to different people, you can absolutely do that. Or you can just buckle up and listen to the entire 3-hour podcast. I know you have a ton of time right now, and I know that there are a bunch of different types of freelancers out there. So I wanted to make sure to have different people from different industries. And I also have a healthcare professional on the podcast to share with you how the health industry is dealing with this crisis, this pandemic, this crazy situation. Before we get into this episode, I just have to let you know that I have a book out about abandoned places. It's full of photography and stories of all the abandoned places that I've explored over the past 4 years, from the United States to Canada to Portugal and beyond. And I would love for you to pick up a copy of it and check it out, put it on your coffee table. And if you order one this month, in the month of March, you will be entered to win a second copy, actually. So all you got to do is go to justtheletterk.com/no tracers. There will be a link down in the description if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for picking up a copy. If you do get one, I'll sign it, and I'll send you 2 signed photo prints as well. Other than my book, there are more ways to support me. You can head to justtheletterk.darkroom.tech to pick up an exclusive photo print for your room, your office, your school, your locker, wherever you put your art. I would love for you to pick up a print of one of my photos. And if you guys need new camera gear, if you need a backpack, a solar charger, if you need help getting your expenses in order, there are a bunch of affiliate links down in the description that I think will help you out on your journey as a freelancer. So our first guest is Frank Fanelli. He is a touring crew member, and I really wanted to get the perspective of a touring crew member during this outbreak because a lot of touring crew is out of jobs. So Frank is actually doing something to help people out that are in this similar position that he's in. He just had a tour cancel, so it was a 4-month worldwide tour, so it was pretty devastating for him. But instead of sulking about it, he decided to do something about it to help his fellow touring crew members. So let's jump into this section of the coronavirus episode with Frank Fanelli. Frank, can you please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience?
So yeah, my name is Frank Fanelli, and I have been touring all over the world for the past 14 years as a tour manager, a merchandise dealer is what they're calling it nowadays, lighting director, a VIB coordinator, and I also used to sing in a band for 9 years who also were on record labels and released CDs and all that fun stuff for a long time as well, but we broke up in 2013.
So tell me a little bit about how the coronavirus has been affecting your industry as a touring crew member. I haven't spoken to anybody that's on any crews on this podcast yet, so you'll be the first one. So I'm super curious to see how it's affecting you and your industry.
Well, the first problem is that as a crew member, we don't really have fans. So we don't have any fans. So when tours end or get canceled or whatever the situation is we're not getting paid to do anything, or we don't have people playing our songs or whatever the situation is. So once all this got canceled, it pretty much just leaves us open to figure out how to survive until the epidemic is sorted, which is a real problem for anybody who maybe doesn't have a savings or lives tour to tour and paycheck to paycheck, whatever the situation is. But I have dozens of friends that don't really know how they're going to pay their bills right now because they also don't want to maybe go get a regular job world, because you're supposed to not interact with large groups of people, and like places that are still open are supermarkets where a lot of people go to go get food. So it's one of those things where you have to really be careful, figure out what the best move is without get like yourself or get. It's very difficult to navigate.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about the mental health aspect of it for, people that, are, struggling with, say they might have depression already, and how this could be affecting them. And can you talk about the importance of communicating with your friends and keeping people close?
Absolutely. My tour, to start with Black Veil Brides actually I'm supposed to fly back from California today, even though I'm not in California because everything got canceled, back home to start the tour this week, but that didn't happen. So I got the call that the tour was canceled, and I was immediately very, very upset about it. Not necessarily because of the money thing, that definitely sucks, but it was a 4-month world tour for them to restart because they were away and didn't play for like the past 2 years. So that was really exciting, and then it came to a screeching halt. So I was very depressed for the first 2 days. That was maybe Thursday of last week, and I just it hurts me the most mentally, more so than financially, because I usually tour 10 months out of the year every year since I was around 17 or 18 years old. So I'm one of those stir crazy people that can't figure out what to do with their lives if I'm not on the road, because there's such a set schedule every day that when I'm at home, I'm sitting around like a miserable person. Like I'll try to go to the gym, and that'll be great, and I'll go out to eat with some friends or whatever. But it's all so temporary. I feel so at home being away. So I was really mentally beat up just for the fact that I was like, well, the tour's canceled. Yeah, that sucks. That could be a month, but wait, it could easily be 2 months or 3 months or more, because we have literally no idea how long this will take to fix.
Yeah, it's definitely devastating a lot of people in different industries. I've talked to, on this episode of the podcast, I've talked to musicians, I've talked to people in the film industry, I've talked to people in the adult film industry. Everyone's being affected. And Can you talk about what you're doing during this downtime to keep yourself busy and preoccupied while you don't really have anything going on with tour?
So yeah, as maybe some of your listeners have seen around so far, myself and my good friend Tatiana have put together a fundraiser called the Nomad Fundraiser for the touring crew, um, to basically help a lot of my personal friends chip away at some of the debts that they might have now that they're not getting paid because they're not out on tour. Um, I had this realization on this past Saturday while I was in the shower, because that's where I do all my heavy thinking. I had this realization. I was just like, well, I can be miserable the entire time while this is going on, or I can make a stupid T-shirt and maybe some people want to buy it, and I can donate all that money to, you know, friends that really need the help. And like the more I thought about it as I was showering, I was just like, I was like, everybody's complaining. I haven't seen this yet. Like nobody's actually doing anything to potentially uh, help others. Like I'm not saying there aren't relief funds and stuff like that, but what I specifically thought was like, I'm affected by this because I'm a touring crew member. All like at least X amount of friends of mine are screwed out of jobs right now. It's like I haven't seen anybody actually help this situation. So I remember my roommate was still in the house at the time. She didn't go out or anywhere or whatever. So I like jumped out of the shower. I yelled down the hall. I was like, "Are you still here? Is this a dumb idea?" And I just explained it to her. And anyway, long story short, uh, on Monday morning we launched this video and GoFundMe campaign to help a very select group of people. Originally in my brain, I was like, well, I'm going to help at least the people that I know personally that were affected. And then I opened it up to allow anybody to get a hold of us if they can prove that their tours were canceled, so I could hopefully um, help them chip away at their bills while nobody's getting paid. And so far in the past, I call it 48 hours. Technically, it's been 72. But in the past 48 hours, we've gained just under $16,000. And if that second day wasn't, if that second day wasn't canceled or whatever you want to call it by GoFundMe, they were reviewing our profile. If that second day wasn't turned off and the GoFundMe wasn't like technically gone, I'm sure we would have been past that by now. But so far, in 2 full days of this being open and available to the public, it's raised just under $16,000. And I have dozens and dozens of emails of people waiting to get helped. And the list that I originally put together of my personal friends that need help, I'm going to mend that all together, and we're going to send at least some money to everybody involved. And I'm keeping this open until the end of March. So if it goes above the goal of $20,000, then I'll raise it, and we're going to keep going until the end of March. If it gets bigger than that, then so be it, because that's more people that we can help.
Hey, I think that's awesome that you're actually stepping in and doing something, especially for the touring crew out there. There's a lot of crew members that have had cancellations, South by Southwest, like all these festivals are being canceled or postponed. So I think it's very, very cool that you're doing this. And I'm so glad that people are getting behind it and helping out. And for those of you listening, I'll definitely put a link down in the description to the GoFundMe if you guys want to help out. Have you seen the ripple effect from all of this panic outside of your industry? Do you know other people that are being affected in different industries as well?
Yeah, I've been really busy working on this the past couple of days, so I haven't actually been looking too much at what everything else is going on. However, I do know a good select of people that are not obviously touring members that still have jobs that are affected. For example, a buddy of mine from London today hit me up, and he actually is the one who tattooed the word nomad on my wrist, which is why I'm using it as an example now. He hit me up and he basically said that he's getting cancellations left and right in his tattoo studio, and he's having trouble because he has 2 kids and a wife at home. So now that's a situation right there. I have a friend from back home and where I'm from in Long Island that said that he after today he's stepping out of the barbershop that he works in, and he's a very accomplished barber. He's booked up all the time. He's stepping out today after today to stop for a little while so he could, I don't know, not get sick or not get infected. it's just one of those things where there's a lot of different people in the same situation, just they don't travel like we do. And that's totally fine. Everybody deserves to get some help. And I'm sure well, I say I'm sure putting together some kind of idea to fix that. But I'm going after a select group of people because that's the life that I live and that's who I'm close with. Yeah.
Do you have a short-term plan if this goes for, till the end of, say April? And do you have a long-term plan if this goes until, say, August?
Oh, man. No, that's the scary part. It's really, it's so unsure that I'm not entirely. I just don't have the knowledge to make sure this, like, to make sure my next step works. Whatever the next step may be, I just don't have the knowledge right now to ensure that that's the right step, because I don't know if I can go and travel to another place. If somebody says, "Hey, I have work over here, you could work here for a little bit." I don't know if I should get on a plane to do that. Do I walk to New York to go see my closest friends just like because I'm miserable? You know what I mean? I'm miserable just sitting in my home all day. I just don't know. So somebody did ask me yesterday. I had a phone call with somebody at AP Magazine. Somebody did ask me yesterday, like, well, we kind of do know that this is not everything's just going to resume or not everything's going to resume in April. And I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. He's like, have you considered making this go longer? I said, in a way, yeah, like I would love to have it go longer, but are people going to care enough to keep sharing our GoFundMe? You know what I mean? I'm not a content creator person. I just thought this was a good idea to help other people. If other people think it's a good idea to keep it going, I have no problem to keep it going. I'll keep it going for as long as people want me to help. You know what I mean? It's a matter of how am I able to get enough eyes on it to where it can keep surviving? Can I keep this GoFundMe going long enough to where people are like, yeah, I donated. I may not be able to donate again because I'm not working, but I will share this every day. Are people going to help me and Tatiana enough to where this can stay active? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know that answer, but that's why I said at the end of March. Long term, if it goes to August or something like that, I thankfully do have a savings because I work entirely too much on road. But I can't speak for anybody else. So the only way this is going to work where I could keep myself busy and keep other people in the know of what we're doing and keep the Nomad fundraiser open is maybe if other people just continue to help me out, or maybe there's a big set of eyes that are going to come maybe today, maybe tomorrow that literally donate some stupid amount of money to where I can actually keep this fluctuating. But that's to be seen. I just unfortunately don't have that answer because nobody has the answer.
Yeah, amen to that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we get some bigger eyes on this thing and we can help you out. Hopefully, the Project Freelance audience can pitch in at least a couple dollars to, help out the touring crew members out there that you're supporting. What questions do you have about this time? Do you have any questions that I could maybe ask the next guest that comes on this podcast?
Ooh. That's an on the spot situation. Is anybody else scared of getting? I call them civilian jobs. I call them a civilian job. Is anybody else scared of getting a civilian job, whether it's working at like a 24-hour supermarket or like stocking overnight, or maybe working at a hotel because hotels are probably going to have people that they need to clean up or whatever, just like any kind of business that needs a janitor or something like that. Is anybody scared of just being around other people at this time to where they're actually just not going to try to even attempt to get another job outside of touring? I'm scared. That's my problem. I don't have health insurance. That's like I can't be in a position to where the savings that I do have to save my ass in a situation like this, I can't get sick and then spend all of it because the no health insurance thing will truly fuck me if I get messed up. So that's my question. Is anybody else terrified like I am? I don't even think I'm going to go get a regular job, and I have no problem doing so. I don't care if I'm a stock boy or something like that. Like that doesn't bother me. It's just my health is my major concern.
Yeah, and I think that probably goes the same way for, most touring crew members. I'm sure most of them don't have health insurance, and so this is probably a very scary time for them. So, I mean, I can answer that question. Like, just as an example, I went to the grocery store the other day, and when I was checking out, the person bagging my groceries said that a new guy came in to start his first shift, saw all the people there, and he like freaked out and he immediately left, and he just couldn't handle it. So it's a very interesting time we're living in for sure. But thank you for sharing, thank you for sharing some advice about what people could be doing during this time, and I definitely appreciate what you're doing and the GoFundMe. I think it's very honorable, and at least somebody's doing something to help.
Yeah, that's my main thing. I have a choice, and we have no choice but to be in a position to where we have nothing to do. We have no choice. So why the hell aren't we using it for something better than going on Twitter and complaining? That's my whole thing here. Is if we can adjust accordingly and help many people in the same situation as we are. It's I can sit here and be miserable, or I can just have a smile on my face all day long because people keep on donating and keep on saying you're doing a good thing here, helping other people, and that's what's giving me the energy and the want to keep this going. So yeah, thank you for even contacting me and thinking of wanting to talk to me about this whole situation.
So that was Frank Fanelli. If you guys want to follow him on social media, you can do that. I will put all of his links as well as the links to our other guests down in the description. There are also time codes for you. So if you want to jump around in this episode to different guests, you can absolutely do that. But I mean, I'd prefer if you'd stay for the whole thing. But definitely check out the GoFundMe that Frank set up. I think that it's a great thing that he's doing, and I wish all of the success, and I hope it helps a lot of people, man. Up next, we have Graham Sheldon, who I've actually had on the podcast. So if you want to hear a longer version and get to know Graham a little bit more, I will actually put a link down in the description for you so you can listen to that episode. It was a really, really cool episode, really well done. And he's actually explored Chernobyl, which is one of my top places to explore in the world. So it was a really cool episode, and it was really cool getting to talk to him and get to know him more. But I wanted to have him come on this episode to talk about the coronavirus and how it's affecting the film industry. He's got a lot of shoots coming up that have been postponed or canceled, and he also teaches a lot in these different seminars around California. And so those have also been postponed. So I wanted to talk to Graham a little bit about what he's doing now during this time of quarantine, where we're supposed to be social distancing. I also wanted to talk to him about insurance, union status, if the unions are doing anything to help filmmakers, and what it's generally like in Hollywood right now. So let's get into this portion of this episode about the coronavirus with Graham Sheldon. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Graham, can you just reintroduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience?
My name is Graham Mailer Sheldon. I'm a Sigma Cine Pro. I'm also a producer and director of photography. I am based out of California.
So let's talk about this COVID virus, this coronavirus situation a little bit. How is it affecting you and the filmmaking industry?
Yeah, okay. So since we last spoke, the entire industry has changed dramatically. I mean, unless you're living under a rock, I guess Jared Leto was apparently at a 12-day, I don't know, retreat of some kind, and like missed everything and just came back. So I've been seeing the social posts around that. But anyway, unless you are Jared or living under a rock, you've noticed that COVID-19 coronavirus has sort of changed not just entertainment, but every single industry, obviously. So in a nutshell, I mean, everything's been canceled or postponed for every major studio, every major streaming network, from Hulu to Netflix to NBC to Disney. Literally everyone I know doesn't currently have any work. This is especially impacting freelance folks, the gig economy, just the things that you and I do, because we don't have a quote unquote day job. Everything that you and I do that most of your guests on this podcast do, is based around small gatherings of people at the very least. And currently, small gatherings of people are not necessarily banned. If you're in Northern California, as of this recording, they're officially banned. But here in Southern California, our governor and our local mayor here in Los Angeles and in San Diego, I'm currently in San Diego, sort of waiting out the storm, if you will, have guidelines of no more than 10 people. And I mean, the official guidelines are social distancing between everybody of 6 feet. So that doesn't really lend itself to having a career as a DP and producer. So we're kind of just waiting it out. The time frame is a little tricky to determine. It seems like the federal government is saying we'll reevaluate in 15 days, but it could go weeks and even months. I mean, some people have been saying August. So I don't know about you, but not being able to work until August is not something that I can do. So I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. So yeah, that's the current state of entertainment. Entertainment is currently canceled.
It's absolutely insane to see this happening. And like, I was telling a couple friends of mine, like, we've, and in my generation, like, we've never seen anything like this. Like, this is something that is completely new to us. Like, you know, we've had pandemics in the past, but we don't really have a whole lot of experience with that stuff. So what are the ripple effects you've been seeing because of this panic that's going on? Like, have you seen it outside of the film industry as well? I know a lot of people that work in restaurants or even at Disney that, you know, don't have a job now because the same kind of thing. They're closing down all the theme parks. They're closing restaurants. They're closing schools even. Like, my roommate is a film student and he can't even do his film projects right now, which are going to be due at some point in time. So have you seen anything outside of the film industry as well?
Of course, yeah. I mean, daily life has changed for, I think, literally every single occupation. Maybe the one exception would be if you were a vlogger and you, you know, are sharing your thoughts and you're used to that online through video. So maybe those folks are still okay. But yeah, everywhere, all the restaurants, all the live music venues all around me are all closed. I mean, everyone's seeing exactly the same thing. So, I mean, I had a call late last week with CAA. They're a large entertainment agency. I was talking to a friend I have over there, and they've completely emptied the building, right? So the traditional media entertainment landscape has just changed forever, I think, to the point where films now from Universal are being released on Friday. So that's in a couple days of when we recorded this. So first run movies are coming out 5 days after their theater release. And that could be potentially disastrous for the traditional theater world as well. So yeah, I mean, I have friends that are actors in theater programs in San Diego, and all of their plays have been canceled or postponed. Yeah, I mean, the ripple effects are vast.
And what's it like to have, you know, things like productions that are being put on hold? I mean, you've made deposits, surely, or, you know, people in production have made deposits, things like that. Like, what are some tips you have for other producers out there that are in this same situation where they can't go out and create the content or create the film that they wanted to work on? What could they be doing right now during this downtime while they're stuck at home?
Yeah, so I mean, I've given that a lot of thought. What could folks be doing, you know, right now, especially freelance folks in the entertainment industry? And I mean, I think now's a good time to update your reel. If you're thinking about doing maybe a pivot in your career, it might be a good time to examine that. It could be a pivot like moving from documentary filmmaking to scripted, updating the reel to reflect that pivot that you're trying to do. It can be looking at your personal brand, right? So when you Google me, it's pretty clear that I do kind of a specific thing within film, right? So what happens when I Google you? What does it look like publicly when I Google you? What does your brand look like? What do you want your brand to look like? Who do you want to be known as within the space or the freelance segment that you're in? So definitely a good time to be looking at your social channels, looking at your public facing work. Is this the best representation of the work that I want to be doing or the work that I've done? And it's a time to check in with your ongoing clients, your agencies, your networks, your just network of freelancers in general. And that's not because, oh, someday I'd like to be getting work from these folks. I mean, I think that's part of it. But as another human being, checking in one person to another to see, look, how is everybody doing? Do they need anything? Is there some type of streaming asset that you can provide them? Are there graphics that you can provide them? Is there something that you can do for just your fellow human beings? Because I think there's something to just maintaining a level of goodwill with everybody in your life and in your network in these tricky times, because you don't want to be remembered in 3 weeks, 15 days, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever the case may be, as the person who was panicking and running around buying $5,000 in toilet paper and marking them up on Amazon. You don't want to have that reputation. So let cooler heads prevail and be known for the person that was calm during this and was willing to wait out the storm and was a positive influence during the storm. I think that's some of the best things you can do right now.
Yeah, I definitely think reaching out to even past clients that you've had, which was something I did yesterday, to see, hey, do you guys want to maybe repurpose some content? If you still have all those old video files from those freelance gigs you did, you can totally repurpose that content for them for social media or anything like that. And that would help boost them as well. And I think it would make them definitely feel a little bit of comfort during this time to know that there's a creator out there that is, interested in still making things happen for them. Can you talk a little bit more about the streaming aspect of things? Streaming is going to be something that becomes very popular here over the next couple of weeks. I actually just talked with another guy named Brian Cox that we've had on the podcast before. He's helping out one of the bands he works with a live streaming thing, and he's also stuck with them currently in quarantine over in the UK. So he's actually working on multiple different projects with them at the same time. So can you just talk a little bit more about the streaming aspect of things? And I know you're doing a little bit of that now.
I'm not an expert on streaming. I don't pretend to be, but I think there's an idea that, look, we all have a lot of knowledge that we can share with the community around us. In terms of monetizing that, there's various services that allows folks to pay a small amount for viewing the content that you're putting out there in the world. I'm hardly an expert on this. YouTubers have been doing this for years and years and years and years. But I do think, now's the time to start putting out content that you can make at home. That doesn't mean sort of randomly share your thoughts. Remember that you keep your brand in mind, right? If I'm a producer in DP, so most of the streaming sessions or webinars or things that I'll be doing at home will be based around some aspect of producing, whether it's fundraising to distribution to production. It's definitely very limiting in terms of cinematography. So dive into the BTS clips you have that you've shot in the past. See if you can illustrate a point. Maybe it can serve as B-roll. Maybe it can illustrate a point that you're trying to make around cinematography or some aspect of it. But now's the time to think out of the box and try to find other ways that you can work with the 7 cameras that you're sitting on at home right now and your lighting kits and all of that equipment. So.
Yeah, your 7 angles that you could have for your live stream would be excellent.
Yeah, cut between individual eyeballs back and forth.
Absolutely.
Really avant-garde.
Yep. So, question about insurance. Some people may have it, some people may not have it. What kind of insurance do you have, and does your insurance cover job loss?
Yes, so I was actually looking into this for my my small business as well. So what does my insurance cover? And the answer is unfortunately none of this. I wasn't insured for infectious diseases or lost work as a result of national emergencies and things like that. I did do a little bit of research. There are clauses that some people have in their policies that could cover them for something like this. It does seem that after 9/11, a ton of folks added sort of coverage for terrorism. I have not seen many folks that have infectious disease coverage. In fact, a famous example would be South by Southwest was canceled this year. Huge film festival in Austin. And I mean, they're out of the tune of $350-450 million in earnings for that city. And they laid off 30% of their staff because they didn't have that kind of coverage. And that it isn't negligent, honestly. I don't think it is if you don't have this type of coverage. But now is an especially good time to be looking at your insurance policy and looking at what it does cover. Most of my coverage, honestly, is built around protecting my equipment from damage. So for me personally, I'm really well taken care of if someone drops a camera because of having the flu. But otherwise, yeah, I'm in a pretty tricky spot in regards to coverage and lost income.
Yeah, but I tell you what, after this thing blows over, insurance companies will probably cover, infectious diseases after this point.
They cover it now. They're very willing to take your money. It's just whether or not that you're asking for that coverage is the big thing. And I mean, who is, right? It's like asking for flood insurance in Fresno. It's just not something that was on people's minds for a while.
Exactly. And are you a part of any unions? And if so, are the unions doing anything to help you?
Yeah, so I am a part of the Producers Guild of America, which is more of a work association than sort of a traditional union. They have been putting out some education around this, but for the most part, the emails I've seen from them recently are, hey, we're canceling and postponing everything like everybody else. I do have a bunch of friends, as I've said, in the theater community, and it does seem like there's a mobilization towards, some type of stimulus package on a federal level or a state level for entertainment workers, which would cover people in the film industry hypothetically. But I'm not seeing any concrete legislation on that front. Just basically lots of organizing, lots of petitioning, local and state representatives around some type of relief for entertainment workers. So that is an action item for some of you folks out there. I mean, look into what petitions are circulating, email your local representative, keep mentioning that, look, freelance gig workers, they need help too. I mean, I think there's a lot of legislation right now around restaurant workers, things like that, because they're obviously paid primarily through tips. And there's a few different industries that are hit very, very hard by this. But we obviously just want to make sure that the folks in the entertainment industry are not left out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this does last till, say, August, do you have a plan for that? Do you have a plan for what you're going to do during this time?
Do I have a plan for lasting until August? I mean, honestly, Kay, I have no other marketable skills other than related to film and television. That is what it is. So good. Okay, that's good to hear. I'm only good at things related to cameras. So with that in mind, do I have a plan if this goes until August? I mean, look, I think the bigger question is, can the most developed, largest country on the planet put a hold on their economy until August? I think honestly the answer is no, right? So what does a hold really mean? It can be a hold on different segments of the population. It can be a hold on restaurants. It can be a hold on the entertainment industry. But I have trouble believing that a hold on the United States can last until August. I just don't think it's a sustainable thing, right? So there's going to have to be some type of paring back of the restrictions that are being placed on the economy and on the United States as a whole within a month or two. It's not a sustainable thing, I think, on a countrywide level. I mean, I think we could absolutely see travel restrictions remaining in place until August, but shelter-in-place warnings that we're seeing for San Francisco and some of Northern California, and it's being considered as of this recording in New York, those types of things can't last until August. It's just not sustainable from my point of view. So do I have a plan? No. But I don't want to leave this on a down note. I think we just all have to be willing to pivot and to, stay informed about what the current CDC guidelines are and just be willing to ride the storm together.
Together alone, 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah, together 6 feet away from each other.
And what are your thoughts about going out and creating stock footage while, we're supposed to be like isolated? There's some people that, and myself included, like I really want to go to LA right now because there's nobody there and just create a bunch of stock footage. But at the same time, like I don't want to be that asshole that's out, you know what I mean? So do you have any thoughts around that specifically?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So we've all seen the shots in zombie movies like 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, et cetera, where like, Piccadilly Square in London is empty and, ooh, crazy. And then there's wild music playing. So the creatives out there like UK might think that now's a good time to go shoot that stuff. I mean, to be honest, most of the shots in films like that were filmed at like 5 a.m. during the winter months when the days were longer, and they were able to achieve those same shots. In terms of filming stock footage right now, I mean, everyone has their, level of risk that they're willing to accept. I would say that, honestly, we're friends, so I feel like I can tell you this. You're probably not the only one, as I said, who has had this idea. So if 900 people upload shots of Griffith Park empty onto Pond 5 right now, I mean, how many of those clips are going to be purchased? And honestly, how many clips are going to be purchased right now, considering that no marketing agencies and the people that buy stock footage most often are operating at normal, normal capacity in terms of their workload? I honestly think that we should stay at home right now. And wait this out. That's kind of my feeling on it.
No, that's great. I mean, that's why I wanted to ask your opinion on it, because I mean, I was a little on the fence, but my biggest thing is like, I don't want to risk getting somebody else sick. So I think that for now, I'm definitely going to end up staying home unless I have to absolutely go out for necessities. So thank you for that. And then my last question for you about this whole thing is, do you have any questions? Like, is there anything you want to know that I could ask our next guest?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's some value to just general community brainstorming, right? Filmmakers as a whole, and I think the entertainment industry as a whole, we all tend to be pretty competitive people, right? We're all like, haha, I got 17 million views and you only got 15.5 on your viral video or whatever. I mean, I see those arguments all of the time. I think now is probably the time to put all that aside, recognize that we are all in this together. There should be a team aspect to this. And along those ends, I'd be very curious about what your other guests are just doing in terms of that plan if they have to wait it out until August. Because that I think is the biggest thing that everybody's wondering, and I wish I had a great answer for that. But I'd be very interested in, what's their short-term plan, mid-term plan, say a month or two, and then long-term plan late this year. What is their plan about just continuing to have work? Are they going to rely on social, institutions, unemployment, et cetera, over the next few months? Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's in the same boat, rather. I don't think everybody's sitting on just a ton of savings.
Yeah, which is, super, super unfortunate, especially like people that are in their 20s that maybe haven't started investing or saving. Like, I feel like a lot of them are freaking out right now. And, I'm fortunate enough to have a businessman as a father. So over the past 6 months, we've been working a lot on like my financial independence. And I've been reading all these books about saving and investing and all this stuff. So I think I've got a little bit of a leg up, which is, awesome and very comforting. But I definitely feel for those friends and colleagues that, don't have savings right now or aren't investing and don't have that like cushion to fall on. So, thank you.
Well, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, Kay. Well, I mean, I was investing up a storm. Now is not a great time for investing either, to be quite honest.
Right.
Like, yeah. I definitely big believer in normal investment strategies for sure. But anyway, yeah, but I also, just a quick note, I graduated in the middle of the 2008 recession. So that dates me a little bit, but that turned around. So I think the fundamentals of the economy are strong. And I think we're gonna get past this. But anyway, you're lucky to have a dad that's been walking you through that stuff, though. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on and chatting about this. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to, spread some of your knowledge and tell people a little bit about what you're up to. And it was great catching up with you. And I hope we can do another long form podcast again in the future.
Sounds good. Stay healthy and, social distance. Enjoy.
If you guys liked what Graham had to say, be sure to follow him on socials. And thank you, Graham, for the advice to stay home and not go out and do stock photography. That is like something I really want to build up this year. But unfortunately, it looks like I might have to wait till August to build my stock photography portfolio even bigger. I don't make a whole lot of money selling stock photography and video yet, but I have a lot of content up, so hopefully one day I see a little bump, a little boost. And I definitely want to get into more like stock photography with models. So that's kind of my next goal, is to get more into the modeling thing and start filming things that people really want to see. For example, like things around the office or things in medical fields, things like that. Especially after this virus, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of COVID documentaries coming out that need stock footage. So I feel like I should film a bunch of medical stock footage with gloves and masks and things like that. So maybe I'll do that after this virus kind of subsides and dies down. But Graham, thank you for coming on the podcast. Like I said, if you guys want to follow him, I will put all of his socials down in the description for you. All right, so this guest we're about to have on is named Erica Torres. She is a wedding photographer, a portrait photographer, and she's also a musician. So she's being affected by the coronavirus in many different ways as far as her business goes. And she also sneezed at work and they sent her home. So the coronavirus is affecting everybody and she doesn't even have it. It's crazy. So let's see what Erica has to say about the COVID-19 virus.
My name is Erica Torres. I'm a wedding and portrait photographer under Erica Torres Photography here in Southern California. And I'm also a lead vocalist and writer for Frequency Within.
So let's talk a little bit about the coronavirus and how it's been affecting you in your industry. You do weddings, and weddings are, gatherings of a bunch of people. And right now that is kind of frowned upon, if you can say that. So how is this virus outbreak affecting you and your industry?
Well, I honestly didn't think it would affect me because usually when the date is set for a wedding, it is set. Like, people put down deposits. I thought this would be something that was concreted and cemented. And I've already had one engagement and one wedding postponed until further notice. And that was money that I was depending on. So this is something that I would have never imagined. It's, affecting my numbers. My clients are like dropping like flies right now. Nobody wants to be out. And I thought that this is, like I said, something I can depend on. I'm also a concert photographer, and seeing the tours being canceled and everything, it's definitely a nightmare that I thought would never happen.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you're focusing your energy on now while this is happening, because now you're kind of stuck at home. You don't have these shows to go to. So are you trying to focus on other type of freelancing work? Like what is your plan right now, or do you have one yet?
Yes. So my plan right now is I'm seeing a lot of bands wanting to do like live streaming. So that's where I come in as a videographer, and I can provide those services of setting up, at the rehearsal studio, if it's just one-on-one with the band, and helping them live stream on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it may be. So that's what I'm concentrating on right now. And, of course, seeing who is willing to take a risk and build my portfolio from kind of from not from scratch, but just kind of, I have a new way of editing and trying to portray that. So trying to channel my creative skills into different segments, I suppose. Just trying to keep myself busy.
Yeah, definitely. So do you also work like a part-time or full-time job on the side?
Yes, I work a job on the side. I work at a music store.
I was just curious because as a freelancer, some people do have part or full-time jobs as well. So I was just curious to hear if you did. So have you seen a ripple effect from this panic that's going on, like farther than just your weddings and stuff? Have you seen it in other industries? Do you have other friends that are going through this kind of stuff?
Yes. Well, even at my part-time job, working at a music store, I didn't think it would affect the musicians coming in, trying out products and everything, but it has been like a apocalyptic desert. Like hardly anybody is coming in. It's scary. Like they even changed the hours now. I'm seeing the store just making cutbacks and doing what they can, and that was like the only piece of normalcy that I had. So seeing even just that change, I see the panic already like really starting to increase. I mean, I coughed and sneezed at work and they sent me home immediately, and I could not believe it. I was in shock. I was like, but I'm not even sick. It's the dust. So I was just completely like aghast at it. And even the gym industry, I go to the gym every day and I'm seeing it just be a complete like desert in there. There's nobody in there. And that's very odd. Usually there's always some muscle heads in there, like taking up the racks and everything. But even that, it just something that you would see out of just a terrifying movie. I went to the grocery store, all the toilet paper is gone. So it's affecting every single industry. Everybody's being affected by this. Small businesses, huge businesses. Disneyland is shut down. Like we're talking about a huge amusement park that everybody comes to. It's definitely like a nationwide, worldwide panic at this point. No, I can't say nobody's not affected. Like everybody is.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Disney's shut down and I never thought I'd see the day, that's like craziness. And it just shows you that like when something like this happens, like people do panic. Like they tell us not to panic, and what is the first thing everyone does? They panic. And it's right. Like you're so right. Like I went to the gym earlier, there was nobody at the gym, and it's affecting everybody. So how long do you think this will last? Like, do you think this could last weeks, months, like a year? Like, what do you think, like, out of everything that you've been hearing come into your, social media feed and through the news and things like that? Like, do you have any idea of how long this could last and what the ramifications could be?
By the rate everything is going, hearing the president talk about it seems like it's pretty serious that this may last a few months.
Yeah. And that's so insane to think about, like freelancers out there that are listening to this, like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do in the long term? And so do you have any other tips for people of what they could be doing right now to, secure a future during these next few months?
Well, as freelancers, we evolve. We are very good at evolving with the times. We think out of the box. That's why people pay us. So we just got to see what the next trend is going to be. Are we going to be going over people's houses now, doing live streams? We have to cater to that now. People don't want to go outside, then we come to them. So we have to reach out to past clientele, and let them know what we could still provide them, but also provide them with the safety of, hey, like we understand, so we just have to evolve with this time.
Our next guest is Aaron Berkshire, a touring content creator, and I wanted to have him on to share his insight about what's happening with this virus over in Florida, how it's affecting his gigs, and how it's affecting the other people that are around him. So let's get into this little snippet with Aaron. Please introduce yourself, Aaron, and what it is that you do to the Project Freelance audience.
My name is Aaron Berkshire, and I am a content creator for traveling musicians.
How has this virus been affecting you and your industry?
Well, right off the bat, I was supposed to leave for tour in less than a week now. And that's my main source of income. And it totally is officially announced as of today. We're, postponing. And that's right off the rip. I mean, it hasn't affected me and my close family yet too much. yet, except for until now. It's totally affecting my whole job pretty much.
So what are you focusing on right now during this, time where we're supposed to be at home and not really out and about with friends or with clients? What are you focusing on right
Yeah.
now?
Today is early spring cleaning. Cleaning my apartment. I've been focusing on cleaning with my wife and just kind of trying to catch up on everything. I was ready to just, get on tour in the next week, so I have been pretty caught up. But mainly now that I'm kind of grounded, back at home, I've been focusing on just my family and cleaning and just trying to find ways to be creative. Honestly, there's not really many jobs that someone like me can just do right now, just because everyone is quarantining at their homes and staying home. And it's not like, and I believe you're a fantastic photographer yourself, so you would know that it's hard to even try to ask people to want to meet up right now.
Yeah, it is a little bit difficult. I've got a couple music videos coming up as well, and I know you do some of that kind of work as well. So have you had cancellations on that front as well?
Not right now, because I was supposed to leave for tour so soon that I kind of caught up on all the bookings for. I actually just finished 5 music videos from January. Like from January to now, I've just finished up 5 music videos, and that's the most I've ever done in a span of a couple months. And I'm so stoked to see them all come out soon. And I didn't have any booked. I think I have one booked actually, just way later, summertime, when I had a little break between. I was about to go to Europe after this upcoming tour with the band I'm touring with right now, and I had this window of time to as of right now, my schedule is clear. So I've been just not really trying to stress too much other than just chilling.
Amazing. So just a quick question for you. Does your insurance cover job loss?
No, I don't have any. I probably should look into getting some insurance and stuff like that. But this is my first. I'm coming off my first. 2019 was my first year of fully being self-employed as an entrepreneur and not working a regular a regular clock in clock out job. And I am just getting into the different insurance and just that stuff. So I haven't yet, but I know that I need to.
For sure. No, it's definitely something you should look into. Have you seen the ripple effect from this panic? Have you seen any ripple effect outside of your industry, your business? For example, your wife does weddings. Has she seen cancellations on that end?
Yeah. So she's actually, she does so many things. She does weddings, and she also does she does freelance product marketing and modeling online for Amazon and a bunch of different other retailers that go through Amazon and stuff. So a lot of her full-time work is actually at home. So we actually have a studio here at home, and we converted a garage into a studio, and she actually hasn't thank God her actual job hasn't lightened up too much yet, but I'm sure that it's probably going to slow down real soon with people not just having the extra money to want to spend on marketing their products and their things. But as for wedding, they're so spread out. We don't have a bunch stacked booked right now. I wish we did, but I mean, I'm sure my friends canceled a wedding. I saw this today on Facebook. Actually, one of my friends is postponing one of their weddings. So I'm sure that is definitely going to be affected the next couple months, which is sad because people look forward and plan to getting married, and that's definitely not cool.
Yeah, and they make deposits and all that kind of stuff. So it's a difficult situation we're all in. From what you've been hearing, how long do you think this is going to last? And do you have a plan if it goes on for more than, say, a month?
I would say if it goes on for more than a month, hopefully it doesn't go on for more than 2 months. I'm really hoping 2 months from now, all of this is real slow down in the world. It's starting to feel normal again. That's at least my prayers for the world, any longer than that, I really haven't thought it out. I worked pretty much my whole life to get where I am now, and doing this, being a content creator and being a photographer and a videographer and just working in the music industry and all these things. And if the world's coming to a point where no one wants to be around anyone else, I don't really know. I think I can try and create content online. That's probably about the route that I'm thinking about going, is trying to focus more on the YouTube channel, which I know I've talked to you about before. I love YouTube, and I need to like try to step it up on putting more videos on YouTube, and it's so much, trying to balance a lot.
Yeah, well, now is this perfect time for you to dive into YouTube if you want to pursue that.
It really
is.
is.
You
it
got
really
some free
is.
time right now. So
congrats to you, by the way, on the YouTube stuff. It's been really cool to see what you've been doing and your YouTube grow so much. Oh, that's really cool.
Thank you, man. I've been on there for years, so it's kind of nice to be. I was in this like plateau area for a little while, so it's nice to kind of have gotten out of that and start growing again. So I'm super excited about it. Do you have any tips for freelancers right now? What could they be doing during this time?
Same thing I'm going to try and do, which is try to figure out some way to market your talent and your skills that you've worked hard on building from home. Everything, like me, my wife and I have invested so much money into these, sometimes I call them toys, all these cameras and all this gear and photography gear. And it's like, now's the time to try to focus on how can you be creative and market yourself and create a way to make money from home.
So our next guest is Lisa Ann. You may know that name. You've probably heard that name. So I know Lisa Ann as Lisa. I have done a bunch of video work for her, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of travel content, and I have gotten to know her very well over the past couple of years, and I've wanted to have her on the podcast for a while, but now that she is retired from the adult film industry, I wanted to talk to her about how the coronavirus is actually affecting her current job, which is as a fantasy sports radio show host for SiriusXM. And I wanted to know what the coronavirus is doing to her industry as far as radio goes, or if it's being affected at all. She also lives in New York City, so we will hear how things are in New York, what it's like there. It's a ghost town, guys. It is an absolute ghost town. They're on lockdown right now. So we're going to hear a lot of information coming out of New York City from Lisa. So if you guys enjoy this, please be sure to leave a rating and some feedback. And we're also going to have Lisa on to do a full episode. So if you guys come back in the next couple of weeks or hit that subscribe button, you'll be notified when a new episode comes out, and you'll be notified when her episode comes out. But for now, we're going to talk about COVID-19 in New York City with Lisa Ann. Let's go. Lisa, please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ann. I'm a freelancer. I've written my first book, working on my second. I do sports radio, formerly a well-known adult film star, and I love to create. So let's talk a little bit about the coronavirus situation that's going on. It's a little crazy. You're over in New York. I would love to hear your insights about what's going on there, as well as what's going on with your industry as far as fantasy sports goes. So first, I'll start with the city. I was very impressed as soon as social distancing was discussed by, I would say, early Thursday. I think the big news breaking in the NBA that there was an NBA player that tested positive, knowing the fact that arenas are used by not only NBA teams, but also hockey teams and other events. The fear factor was instant, right? How many people could this one person have come in contact with? By the next day, as I would look out my window, other than construction being done on some buildings, there's one or two people walking on the street. There's no taxi cabs honking. There's no need for cops to use sirens because they can pretty much just fly down the open street. And I was impressed and realized that New York City is so resilient. 9/11 changed the way this city thinks and operates, and it was a very positive feeling of knowing that everybody was doing their part to not make things worse and just kind of stay out of the way right now. And we're lucky to be in buildings where everything is very accessible. You can still get grocery deliveries here. You can still get takeout food, but only necessity businesses are open. So, it's just quiet. It's very quiet. I usually didn't have to set an alarm clock here, and I would know when it was about 6:15, because the street starts to get loud. The cars are louder. There's more people out. And yesterday I slept till 9 o'clock because it's so quiet that I was like, oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock. I slept half the day away, but it's different. Today I got out. I check the weather every night. I'm like, okay, there's going to be no rain in the morning. I'm going to go to Central Park. I'm going to get in a good 5-mile walk. I think it's important for us still to touch the ground and be one with nature and get out and do things. But you just have to do them in areas that are not populated. And I felt that even when you'd walk by someone at the park, there were a lot of people there with their dogs, of course, because you still got to let your dogs be out and get a good walk in. And everyone just kept a nice distance. Everyone just really nodded. It's a little bit eerie because you can see a fear on everyone's face that you walk by of realizing we're all dealing with this same incredibly intense unknown. We're watching examples and comparing ourselves to other countries, which we didn't really have a proper timeline. We haven't been able to really be in front of this. And there's a level of just unknown, and you can see it in every single place you go. You know, I also, after my walk, I went into the Whole Foods. I just needed to get some avocados, some bananas, some fresh things. And I was like, why should I order online delivery when I can see visibly how many delivery orders are being filled at the store? And there's probably people that aren't able to get out, and I'm okay to get out. So I wear gloves, of course. You know, I'm not taking crazy chances, but I picked up a couple of things. And when I was checking out, I wanted to talk to the guy that was checking me out, because here we are, you know, these people have to work. We can't get what we need without them. You have never needed the guy that's standing there ringing you up at the grocery store more than you do in this very second. And this guy is taking on the exposure of multiple people through a day, where you and I, many freelancers, many self-creators, are able to be alone and be still and still be productive. And so we had this great conversation. It ends up he plays fantasy basketball. We went through a bit of his team. He has Luka and LeBron. I said, dude, you should be in first place. He's like, well, I didn't set my lineup for a couple of days. There were some injuries. Like, oh, you know, so we went back and forth. It was a really pleasant exchange. We're missing out on pleasant exchanges with strangers. We might be talking to our friends on the phone or by text or by interview or by however, but we're not talking to strangers. And I've realized that impact on me because, Kay, you have traveled with me, and something that a lot of people don't know about me, especially when I travel, I love to talk to strangers. You know that. I definitely. I do. I'm very curious. I want to know. So I think we're missing out on that. And this is something that I never expected in my lifetime with technology, with medical advancements, with everything that we have, that we would be here where 20% of the workforce is going to be out of work, and people who lived, you know, by serving tables and needed that money. I mean, I watched a woman on the news yesterday who said she was so upset that people are hoarding diapers because they can afford to buy more at one time than she can. Think about that statement from her. She needs them just as bad as somebody else, but somebody who has more money can go and buy 20 packs, and then she can't even pick up her one. So those little things have hit me where it's like, okay, how will we adapt to the full changes when everything is closed? Because it's not necessarily that we're all worried we're going to die, but it's that we don't know how to treat it yet. And until we can figure that out, we all need to take a step back, let the people that are smarter than us, that put themselves in the front line to do this type of research. There's already been studies where there have been some testing starting in different places, and we just need to let them do their work. And so I'm really looking at this as you and I are very similar in the way that, okay, we don't mind being home alone working all day. So it's okay for us. This isn't changed. But for a lot of my friends, they're reaching out to me right now like, dude, I know this is your sweet spot, but how do you deal? I need to talk to people. I need to be doing something. I need to be going out. I need to be, you know, I see a lot of other people are kind of spinning this wheel, like treading water, like that it's changed their life to the point where they can't exist. And it's like, no, it's just changed our temporary situation. It's not changed anything about our life. Our life is not about how much money we have or how successful we are or what we do. Our life is about the relationships that we've made, the closeness we feel to our people. Those people are all still there. They're a phone call away. So none of that has really changed. So I've been spending endless hours on the phone with friends. I've been writing and working on like if I can't finish my second book during this, case, what's wrong with me, right? But you know, like this is ridiculous, okay? And then in the sports end of it, you know, our world went to a screaming halt until Sunday because the NFL started free agency. So it's kind of like the life support right now is looking at all the moves being made at the NFL. It's actually in real time because for 2 days before this, we were watching like old games on ESPN, like things that already happened. You know, you're watching it, you're like, is this a fight? Oh, this is last year's fight. Why do I care? I can't tweet about this. So it's made us really have to adapt. Now, I'm very fortunate that with SiriusXM, if you have a device that connects you directly, you can work from home. So it hasn't interrupted my work schedule, which is I'm blown away by that. And it makes me feel, I told my girlfriend the other day, I said, if this $1,000 check comes out, I'm going to donate it because I've been able to still work, or I would reach out to a couple of my friends and say, who's struggling? What do you need? And divide this money up. I mean, because I feel almost guilty that I'm still able to work and I'm still able to really coexist in this world, but not everybody has that. And today when I was out and I looked at the people at the store, I looked at the UPS driver, I looked at everybody and I was like, oh my gosh, how do you feel about working? Because I'm lucky. I didn't even have to think twice about it. They have to go out of their house to work, and that has to be stressful. We don't know how that feels because we're getting to work from home.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I went to the grocery store the other day as well, and the lady that was bagging my groceries was telling me that a new guy came in to start his first shift that day, and he had a breakdown, and he just couldn't handle it because there were so many people there.
Yeah. Yeah, and before he was working, he was probably watching the news nonstop, and he was probably, burning himself thin. I mean, one of the biggest things I'm doing right now is only limiting myself to an hour of news a day. I cannot watch the banners, the theme music, the dramatics, on serious, it's just so sensationalized in a sense. I don't need that you have a bumper for this, okay? It doesn't make me feel good that you've created like a sound effect that is something out of a movie. So how much do I want to expose myself to that? Well, I'm going to read the news and find out new statistics and new studies and things that are happening, but I can't obsess on it. And I think for a day, I let myself obsess on it, and I realized how I didn't sleep well that night, and I was lethargic the next day, and I got nothing done, and I was just like, ugh, I felt gross. So I was like, this is going to be happening. To social distance, to stay focused and busy. You can also take on some random chores around the house, going through clothes. Like, there's always something to do. We just have to make it work for now.
Definitely. And so I wanted to know, along with, doing things around the house, what are some tips that creators can do right now during this time while we are stuck inside, like as far as, content creation goes? Do you have any tips for them?
I think this is a really good time to be intimate with your following. So I think, I've been trying to stick to a live broadcast every day on multiple platforms, Periscope, Instagram, Facebook. And I'm feeling like this is a time where you can pop on for 5-10 minutes every day for the people that have already enjoyed your work and kind of give them a little escape and build that connection. We're going to remember what these times were like and what things we were talking about. And it's going to be fun because we'll look back on it as, oh, remember this. I think connecting that way is very important. I also think sticking to some sort of a routine in any situation is really important right now. You have to get up, you have to do your workout, if you like to work out at night, whatever your routine is. But I've found for me, taking a shower, taking a little extra time in the shower, putting my makeup on, doing my hair, getting dressed in regular clothes because I don't want to feel like a slouch after 2 weeks of this where I've just worn sweatpants. For me, that's just been something that's helped me. And then when I walk into my office, my bottle of water and my computer, I'm like ready. I just feel that's given me a little bit more of a professional edge. That's given me more of a this is the daytime. This is when I need to be producing and connecting. It's a little bit harder because a lot of the bigger people we want to be talking to right now are unavailable. And I don't want to put pressure on anybody because you don't know what they're dealing with immediately. You don't know if they have kids that were affected. You don't know if their kids are home with them. So I'm only really reaching out to those who are reaching out to me, except for people along the way that I knew I wanted to interview with, like you. And I had a little ongoing list in the back of my planner. And it's something I always keep because sometimes you get busy. Somebody reaches out to you, you don't want to forget. So it's like people of interest, that want to interview. And I just write them down with their Twitter handle or wherever they reached out to me. And then I kind of follow them for a little while. I've been able to reach out and set up kind of like 2 things a day for the next week so that I can keep some momentum going and be connecting with other creators. So we all continue to build each other. We're going to be watching each other closer now because we've spoken. So when the next project does land, we'll be a lot more engaged with that product to share that product with our followers. And I think this is going to be a really great time for collaborators to bond and then continue to carry the torch once we're back out there on the street, once we're back out there meeting people. We always are in situations where people are looking for more people like us, or more people that do what we do. We like to share those contacts. I think now we're going to build a bigger kind of little group of people sharing contacts moving forward. And I think staying focused on a small goal every day, just as if this wasn't happening. Because there's no timeline in a creator's life. You still have to be, I understand you might not be able to be shooting or working on a set for somebody else, but maybe it's something you wanted to figure out more on your computer, on your camera, on a camera that you're looking into for the future, new technology, different editing things. There's always that next level of like, where could I take this and make it a little bit better? So I think we can be just working on self-improvement on our skill set as creators.
Not only that, but I think that it now is a great time to even repurpose old content. You know, I just got a sponsorship with a watch company, and I have an old video from a separate watch company where I actually made an advertisement for them. So I'm going to send this new watch company this advertisement and say, hey, I would love to make something like this or even better for you, you know?
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, we have new followers every day. So repurposing content, to us, it's repurposing. To someone else, it's brand new. And we forget how many cool, and also you loved a set that you did. Like you and I went to Alaska last year, and we had this incredible journey, and we took so many incredible photos. I don't want any of them to ever be forgotten. So I still like to go through them regularly and repost one or two, and they're so fun, and I get so much engagement because there was so much passion in that trip. By the way, did you see that they ran the Iditarod with no fans?
That's crazy.
They had to run it with no fans this year. And I thought of you right away because I still follow everybody that we've either met in Alaska or we looked up in Alaska. So I'm like, man, the Iditarod. And this is the first time, by the way, also Alaska Airlines pulled out sponsorship because of animal activists.
Wow.
I was like, no, the Iditarod has to go on forever. It's what those dogs love to do. We got to feel it when as soon as they saw them getting ready to pull the chain out of the ice and let us go, they were so happy. But that's a sidebar. Sorry to go off topic.
No, it's great. I love going off topic. That's what podcasts are all about.
Right. But like that's repurposing. I just want to go through all those photos and repurpose them and relive the experience. And you have so much incredible, unique work that you can go through and use ones you haven't even used yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So my last guest that we just spoke to, his name's Sheldon. He is in the filmmaking industry, and I asked him if he had any questions for our next guest. And his main questions were, do you have a short-term plan for this? Do you have a long-term plan for this? We don't know if this is going to last a month or until August. You know, this could go on for a long time. So do you have a plan for, you know, the short term and the long term?
Yeah. Long term, I think it's going to be all about how we communicate with the people in our lives. And I think we're going to switch from phone to more FaceTime. We're going to need to start seeing each other again. And I think right now we're utilizing all the features to do group conference calls on the phone, this and that. But can we really say that we're going to go 2 months without seeing each other face to face? I just think that would become a little bit unhealthy. So I know there's going to be a place where I really push my friends to be like, okay, we got to be on FaceTime. I think it's important we see each other. You know, really this, how everyone is doing has been so important to me. I have such a large group of friends scattered all over. And in the short term, I know which ones of them are just not great alone. Also, they're not working at all. So they don't have the luxury like you and I and other creators to escape into something during the day. They're literally watching TV. And really trying to stay in tab with their mindset. So my short-term plan is just to make sure they're okay. My long-term plan would be to maybe get group Skype things where we all watch movies together, like really become more interactive so that we see each other, stay connected, have scheduled things to do. Because I think people are going to get really stir crazy at about the 30-day point, where if they don't have things on their schedule, they don't know why pressing. You know, a lot of depression will be affected by this because there's no momentum. So it's going to be like telling my girlfriend that we're going to do our 8 a.m. in the morning workout together on FaceTime in our place. You know, like little things like that. I think we're going to have to push. We have to push for things and make things happen because we keep each other mentally stable. the short term and the long term for me, work wise, doesn't really change much. I'm going to continue short term and long time to really connect with my fans, my followers, and then I'm also going to continue to write, upload content onto the platforms that I still use, like OnlyFans. I repurpose all of the content that I own, so I sit there and add content, for every day of the week. So that's a time consuming. I'm going to continue to work on those things, but the goal with me is keeping the people in my circle. And in my world, even from my bosses to my co-hosts, to my producers, to my friends, keeping tabs on everybody very closely. How is this affecting different people? How are they feeling? What do they need? Because we can do that we don't have to leave our house to do that. All we have to do is be connecting and making sure everybody's in a good mindset. Everybody has something they're looking forward to. I've been sharing a lot of TV series that I watched with friends just so that I can hey, I like this series. I know you like it. People need to find ways to pass the time, and some people do not do well when they're bored.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. So I think, getting in touch with your friends and making sure everybody's okay, I think that's super important during this time. So thank you for sharing that with everybody here on the podcast. That was Lisa Ann, and if you guys want to follow her, I will put her social media down in the description for you guys. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on and sharing your insights about the coronavirus and how it's affecting your industry. All right, so up next we have my manager, Mishko, Nicholas Mishko, as he is known by the government. But I call him Mishko. Anyway, so he is going to be talking to you guys about what bands can be doing during this time where we are all stuck at home. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's get into it. Mishko, please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience.
Cool. How's everyone doing? My name is Nicholas Mishko. I own 10 and 8 Management.
So what is 10 and 8 Management, first of all, just so people have a little bit of background into what it is that you do?
So 10 and 8 Management, we're a music management company, been in the business 8 years now. Well, my career started about 12 years ago. That's a story for another day, but been doing 10 and 8 Management now full-time, 8 years. Started out with one client and a laptop, and in 8 years, we've grown. We've done over 1,000 shows in the last year. We've had Warped Tour, Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. We went from one client to now we're about to have 25. I got a team of 7, and we're on our 3rd offices. So yeah, it's been a busy 8 years.
Hey, that's awesome. So let's talk about the coronavirus, since it's, a hot topic right now, and that's what this episode's all about. So tell me about how it's affecting your industry as well as the bands that you work with.
Yeah, it's a scary time. So with this coronavirus, I'm doing everything I can to stay active because it's, I'm telling my bands look, business doesn't stop. Unfortunately, there's with bands there's many facets, you yourself as an artist, there's many facets of the music industry, and unfortunately the live performance part of it has come to a complete stop. Not we don't know how long it's going to be paused, and I tell my bands look, focus your efforts on everything else. This is the time now to go 100 times. Everyone, the cliche is go hard on social media. Now's the time to go 100 times harder. People are going to be home. They're going to be on their phones. They're going to be bored. You need to give them an escape. You need to put out live. You need to do live shows. You need to put out more content now more than ever. You need to. I know a lot of bands that were going to go on tour. That merch is going to sit there collecting dust. Put that shit up online and sell it, liquidate, do everything you can. Fan interaction is now more crucial now more than ever. My day to day, I'm just counting down, I'm based outside of Cleveland. So I'm based into, I'm counting down until they make everyone stay at home. My office has very low traffic, so I don't really deal. So I'm able to still go and be in front of the computer and, this week's been a crazy one. Even last week, I've lost going on damn near 50 shows. I'm just hoping it doesn't go into the summer with festivals. Oh my God. That's a nightmare I don't even want to think about. So it's definitely affecting. It's myself as a manager, artist, music venues, talent buyers, even restaurants, bars. It's anything that has to do with entertainment. At hotels, crews, security teams, it's everyone. The one thing though because it is affecting everyone. I've noticed there's been a little bit more of camaraderie amongst industry folk, and because we're all, I stress a lot on, I try to post positive, stuff on social media because everyone was posting about this fucking virus, and the main thing is like, I'm telling people like, look, we're all different teams, but we're one music industry. We're all in this together. So it's unfortunately it's taken something this mass to bring a lot of people together. So yeah, but it's scary. You're just taking it one day at a time.
You already kind of mentioned some stuff, but what are some other things people can be focusing their energy on during this time? You had mentioned live shows, like live streams. I think that's super important. Bring Me the Horizon just announced that they're going to be doing like live streams and updates. They're working on a new album, and they're like quarantined together, so they're all, working on some stuff. So what else could people be doing during this time?
I think, well, before I talk about what the other stuff I think bands should be doing, I want to mention though the live performance and the streaming online. I think that is great. With that being said, though, I've been telling my clients like, look, if you're gonna do, make sure the audio sounds good. Make sure it's, if you're gonna do it in your bedroom, your house, kind of straighten up a little bit. It's like you still got to have a little bit of professional. Did you get a chance to watch the Dropkick Murphys St. Patty's Day performance? It was amazing.
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah, it was like super well done.
Yeah, it was very well done. I'm telling my bands like, use that as an example. If you want some traction, like you gotta put a little bit of effort. It's not just sitting in front of a camera. It's even with your TikTok videos, it's you put some really good effort into those, and then it goes a long way. But other things bands should be doing, I can't stress enough, like the postings, and it just like even the merch. We've had some bands that they lost quite a bit of shows, and they're liquidating a lot of their merch, and it's it's helping. It's not healing all the wounds, but it's helping. And not only that, it's like this is the time where like everyone has downtime. Everyone, like, write that album that you've always wanted to write. Hell, do 100 covers. Put that shit on TikTok. Put that shit on Instagram. Like, just be as active as you possibly can and utilize this time, because there's a lot of attention right now with everyone being home. So do what you can to get those people's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And then for you personally, do you have insurance, and does that insurance cover job loss?
That's a scary one. As far as now, there really isn't an insurance person. Now, if you have an event and it does get canceled, but there's been talks as far as like a lot of my talent buyer friends, there's certain legal terms where it's considered like, I cannot remember the exact legal term, but it's almost like, when something falls under natural acts or unforeseeable circumstances, where like insurance won't cover a lot of events. Now, with that being said, though, there are a lot of grants that are helping people, but it's different state by state. Now, I know there is the Music Cares grant that's been getting a lot of traction. That's with the Grammy organization. That helps, but you've got to have like 6 years minimum into the music industry, and you got to provide. There's a lot of paperwork and whatnot. But as I'm telling people, like, look, do what you can to help yourself, because like if there's grants out there and you got to help yourself. That's pretty much what I'm getting to. So as far as insurance, yeah, I've had some friends, some talent buyers and stuff like that, where like, yeah, it does cover, and some it doesn't. So but yeah, I don't think I know one person that hasn't had income loss from this thing. That's scary. Yeah. Now I'm blessed. I'm able to, offset those costs. Like, we got some sync deals coming up, which is cool. We've got, a lot of things that have been in the pipeline. Some festival stuff down the road. So like hopefully that won't affect it. But like yeah, the short term, I've been told by agent friends at the major agencies that pretty much count on anything in the next 3 months, like just being moved or canceled, and do what you can to pick up the scraps and to either move it or if a festival is going to cancel, ask that talent buyer if they can put you on for next year. So I'm really, really hoping this doesn't go into the summer.
Yeah. And if it does go into the summer, do you have a plan for that? Do you have any idea what you're going to do and what you're going to, be able to provide for your artists?
As far as if this, well, I'm hoping it doesn't go into the summer because we've got quite a bit of festivals booked. But if it does, we're going to reach out to them, see if we can grab 2021 spots. And then just, unfortunately, just focus on late fall going into winter. Like, I know, like, we haven't even really hit spring yet. It's like, we're already, like, I've never, like, it's crazy because, like, hey, like, I've always, like, like, okay, for those of you who don't know that are, going to be listening to this podcast, a tour takes, 3 to 5 months. It takes at least a quarter of a calendar year to plan. To be safe, it's 3 to 5 months. I've never had, like, this far planning out of like, because it's we had some clients that they canceled May. We had one tour, I'm not gonna say who, but God, we lost 8 shows in one day because of this thing. And it's just, and not only that, here's the other thing that people have to like, okay, so if this thing does pass, there's the whole fear thing associated with this. Okay, let's say we're still allowed to play shows, but if people aren't going out to the shows, it still affects everyone. So I'm hoping, I cannot wait for this thing to pass. I can't wait for everyone to just start being healthy again. I want it to go away. I really do.
Yeah, it's definitely devastating a lot of people. So I know a lot of touring musicians don't have health insurance. Are you seeing like your bands come to you like with things like dealing with like depression during this time, and how are you helping them through this situation?
Yeah, it's a very depressing time. That is, well, being an artist manager, there is, even before the virus, that depression with clients and musicians, that was always there. There's statistics showing that post tour like when artists, the depression with musicians, at least in my career, that I have noticed and observed, is that the depression is the highest when bands are not on tour or when they just come off of a tour. Because when they go on tour, they feel the wheels are moving, they're doing their dream, they're working towards their goals. When they're at home, a lot of them don't have good home lives, or a lot of them they feel like they're not working. That is when the depression is the highest. So this is what we have going on now. We have musicians that are home. We have musicians that are losing tours. We had a tour we were working on, and one of my clients just dropped an album, and they're supposed to have 2 tours set up to support that album. Those are gone. So yeah, they're coming. I as a manager, I keep my phone on 24/7, and I tell my artists, you can call me anytime. The team here, we keep an open ear. A lot of it is just listening, so because they don't have, some musicians just don't have anyone in their corner to anyone to vent to, anyone to rant to, anyone to just get their remote. So that's just being, as a manager, just being that ear, that just somebody to not even talk, just to listen. And that helps, at least in my opinion, in my observation, my career, that's helped a lot of clients. I'm no doctor, and I always tell, but my clients that, but like, just again, being there for someone on a personal level. Yes, it is a business, and we there is that professionalism, but at the same time, like, when you work with people, you still have to care out for their best interests, and you have to care out for the greater good of that person, and how they are mentally affects everything. Not only that, just being a kind person and caring, all business bullshit aside, like, I'm never gonna tell a client of mine, 1088 management, we're a family. I'm never gonna tell a client of mine, hey, look, that's not my problem. That's got nothing to do with the business. I'll never do that. And my team will never do that. I preach, we are here for each other. And this is a tough time. It really has. I'm not going to say, greater details of what the subject matter is, but the depression's there. It's, some of them are taking it better than others, but that comes with, this is a very scary thing, whether or not, I've got clients who are they're afraid of their, okay, let's back up. Not even just the not being on tour. It's the whole, my grandma, she, I live with her and she's in her 90s and I'm scared, or my fucking uncle has it, or this or that, or it's tearing my family apart. It's just this is a whole nother level of just a mental mind fuck for society. And it's just, it's very, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it is a scary time. It really is. And I feel I don't know, maybe here in the United States, a lot of people didn't think that it was going to be this bad, because we saw in other countries, and a lot of people think that, oh, that will never come to the United States, or it'll never be that bad, or the media is blowing up. But no, it's here. It's having its effects mentally, financially, and it's only, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse before it gets better, in my opinion. So.
And then for right now, during this time, while we're at the height of this, pandemic in the United States, you said to keep posting on social media and things like that. Do you think bands should also be releasing new music right now, or do you think that the internet is too saturated with content right now?
No, I think pull the trigger and release as much new. Now, with that being said, let me back up there. If you're going to do a cover, go ahead and put it out. This is, now as far as original stuff, if you got an album, I would delay that. We've got some albums that were supposed to come out during this time. We've delayed them because it's just, you do have to, yes, there's a lot of crazy shit going on, but at the end of the day, you got to, you basically have to, you got to, I was gonna say keep headstrong with what's going on with trash and Twitter. I was really trying hard not to say that. But anyways, that's a topic for another day of what musicians should not do. But anyways, I was really trying to, that's why I was fumbling. I was really trying not hard to say headstrong. But anyways, my point is, this is a business. You have to be smart. You got to be headstrong. So, but yeah, if there's one thing this week has taught us, it's definitely social distancing. Be safe, wash your hands, and don't do what Trap did on Twitter.
Amen. So. That's a good conclusion. Thank you so much for coming on Project Freelance again and sharing some insight with the audience about what people could do right now. I appreciate it. Where can people find you on social media if they want to get in touch?
10and8management.com. That has all of our links. I do want to say, for your, a lot of your listeners are musicians or bands. During this time, 10and8 Management, we're offering, I come from a heavy background in royalties, so we're offering, if there's any band out there that needs help with their ASCAP, BMI, Sound Exchange, any of their royalties, where my team is helping people for free at this time. If you got we're doing everything we can, even artists that are not on our roster. If you're in a band or somebody and they tour heavily or they need help getting their royalties, go to 10and8management.com. There's a little contact us and shoot me your questions. And I've had musicians and bands from all different genres this week reach out, and that's the main thing. I'd like to plug just being, we're helping, just if you need help, this is, I feel like this is the thing that we can do for you. So if you got royalty questions, if you got, anything of hey, I didn't get paid for this or for that, shoot us a question. We're helping all musicians right now during this, this pandemic. Because again, we're different teams, but we're all in this together. It's one music industry.
All right, so that was Mishko. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your insight with everybody. I think bands out there will get a lot of information out of your portion of this episode. So thank you again. If you guys want to follow him on socials, you can do that. I will put all of his links down in the description for you. Be sure to check him out. And bands, if you need any help during this time, hit him up. He'll help you out for sure. The next guest I have for you guys is a Sideshow performer. His name is Auzzy Blood. His name is Austin, but he goes by Auzzy Blood. So that's how we're going to address him in this show. So Auzzy Blood is a Sideshow performer. He was recently a part of the Cirque du Soleil show, Run the Show. And I actually got connected with him through Instagram. He saw that I had posted some content with another performer from the Cirque named Aiden. And Aiden and I actually did a collab together that is going to be out soon, so you guys can check that out when it comes out. But Auzzy reached out to me on Instagram and said that he had some stuff that he wanted to share on this episode of the podcast about the coronavirus and how it's affecting his industry and industries around him. He's in Las Vegas, so we're going to get a little insight of what the Vegas Strip currently looks like and just hear how the coronavirus is affecting Vegas and all the performers that live there. So, Auzzy, could you please introduce yourself and what it is that you do to the Project Freelance audience?
My name is Austin Punton, but I normally go by the name of Auzzy Blood. That's Auzzy Blood. I spell it out because everybody normally calls it Ozzie or, like Ozzy Osbourne, but Auzzy Blood. And what I do under that name is I'm a performer, so I consider myself a self-employed freelance artist. I go out and try to just inspire people that they can accomplish anything they put their minds to, because I put myself through some pretty crazy things, which is sword swallowing and pushing the limitations and endurance of the human body, essentially.
So let me just ask you, how has this outbreak affected you and your freelancing / your income?
Well, I just lost my job with Cirque before all of this started, so that show just ended. So it was kind of like me, going back and getting into performing. Before I worked for Cirque du Soleil, I was a freelance traveling performer. So I would book random gigs with whatever event or show or company, needed an entertainer of my caliber. And I would travel to those gigs, perform and entertain. Well, now that the coronavirus is happening, nobody's allowed to throw events. Bars are shutting down. There's one event I've done for the last 4 years in a row called Halloween Club Spook Show in La Mirada, and that's getting postponed too. So I right now I have money to sit on, but it's kind of scary because it's like, how long is this going to last? How far is it going to affect the economy? Like in a couple of weeks, our grocery store is not going to have enough supplies for everybody like they already do now, but at a worse rate, because there's certain industries shutting down. But yeah, I'm in the boat with everybody else of my gigs and my work, and the ability to create with other content creators is being limited in the most way it's ever been for me.
Yeah, and collaborations are huge, especially in an industry like yours and as well as mine. And I also do music, so collaborations are massive. What are you focusing on during this time? Like, where is your focus at? Are you creating content still, or are you just trying to feel it out and see how long this is going to last?
A little bit of both. So I'm still working on my day-to-day content because I still want to bring people the videos and the entertainment I normally do for Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, because obviously that's where everyone's going to be directing their attention right now. Since we can't go out and have fun, everyone's going to be on their phones. So I think it's better we actually band together. My focus is to continue creating, continue to try and uplift people so they're not so down during this time, because it's a little scary for me myself. I don't know where I'm going to be, and if I start to run out of money, how am I supposed to pay my rent? And my girlfriend, she does performance out on the Strip. She's a burlesque performer, and she does the showgirling, so she can't even go out and showgirl safely because of all the lack of people out on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Man, it's so crazy to hear that, not only you are being affected, but, your girlfriend's being affected as well. And I'm sure that puts a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, on both of you together. So my next question was about, the ripple effect, if you have seen, this affecting people outside of your industry. So can you just touch a little bit more about that?
Well, let's see. I'm a big cannabis advocate, so I'm somebody who smokes cannabis regularly. And for perfect, simple little example, I normally Sunday I've gone to a bunch of what we call underground sessions, or these events where local retailers can pop up and sell their cannabis products of all kind, and it's a cool environment. Well, all these environments are being shut down, so some of these mom and pop shops, some of these people that sell all their stuff through local websites or Instagram or whatever, they can't even go out and get their customers the products they need in the cannabis industry because all of this is being shut down. And now, like when I went to the dispensary today to just try and stock up, there was a line around the building because the hours have changed. Everyone's trying to stock up because of the emergency. So it's definitely already creating a ripple effect. I mean, you can't even go to the grocery store and buy toilet paper or get a regular amount of food without wondering, okay, am I going to have to come back in the next couple of weeks and worry about there being even less?
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time that we're living in right now. And I was talking to my previous guest on this podcast that our generation, like, we've never seen anything like this. Like, what do you think about this whole situation?
It's scary because I'm just wondering how people are going to react. Like, people are already acting stupid in ways of, there was a gentleman here in Las Vegas that supposedly was in a hazmat suit, and while they were unloading the toilet paper at Walmart, he sprayed a bunch of people that were waiting to get toilet paper with this clear liquid, and there was all this stuff going on. There were ambulances and fire trucks. So my biggest concern is with social media and the way it's going. How far are people going to take, like, making crazy videos to get viral views of whatever's going on with the coronavirus now? Because that, as we've seen, that's where a lot of viral content comes from, is like stupid things that happen, or people doing crazy, edgy, over the top things, pushing the boundaries, but in dangerous ways. So with a societal collapse like this, I feel like people should stop being wasteful, and I'm just worried they're not going to take it so seriously. Because at first I wasn't taking this so seriously. I was like, no, it's not going to be that bad. And now Las Vegas is on a 30-day quarantine. So it's really shocking that it's getting to this level.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it's going to go next. Like you said, like we don't really know how people are going to react going forward. So if this does last until August, do you have a plan for that? Or are you, like the rest of us, just not really sure what's going to happen? Like, is the government gonna help us? Like, you know what I mean? So do you have a plan for if this is a longer thing than, 30 days?
If this starts going past May, right now my plan is to, like, if communications goes down, if the world as we know it crumbles even further to where it's like, I sell t-shirts online and I do stuff, so I have some way of making income off that in my Patreon. So if stuff like that starts to crumble and it literally goes into, apocalyptic Half-Life mode, and we have to start scavenging and finding whatever we can to survive, then my plan is to get with my closest immediate family around Nevada and come up with a further plan from there, because I don't know what their idea is. But it's like, do we have to start doomsday prepping? Do we have to start getting weapons? Do we have to start worrying about people rioting and stealing other people's stuff because they don't have enough right now? Because that's already happening in the world before crisis. So now there's just an increased level for it to happen. That's what's scaring me the most.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I saw a viral video yesterday on, like, Instagram or Facebook or wherever it was, of this guy just driving around the block playing the Purge siren from the Purge movie. Just stupid shit like that. But I mean, like, how far off are we, really?
Yeah, that's going to make people panic even more, or that's going to make the people with, psychological disorders, or the people that are not all there, is the easiest way to explain it. They might think, well, it's the end of the world, we might as well kick it off, right? And if enough of them band together, that shit can happen. Like, people don't realize that if you start putting out certain content in times like this, just like with what's been going on with the news and everything, people respond to it. So if you start posting stuff that's similarly funny and satirical, people could start taking it seriously, especially with the generation that's grown up in media, and they've been driven by media since they were, since they could pick up a phone and look at a screen, essentially.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to see this world we're living in right now. And Bill Gates tried to warn us 5 years ago and tell us that this was going to happen, but nobody listened, and we were not prepared, and we are definitely not prepared. What questions do you have during this time, if any?
My biggest question is how should people stand together, and what's the biggest thing we should start doing if we see the government stepping in too far, like martial law and all that? Like, where do we draw the line? You know, where do we draw the line for our own freedoms and being able to protect ourselves? Because they're really not going to do what's the best for us, because they don't live in the shoes that everyday artists or performers or creators. Like, there's so much that is going to be taken away from us. Freedom is literally dissolving away from us. So when do we fight back? When do we start to defend ourselves? You know, what can we do is my biggest question.
Yeah, well, I hope that we can find an answer to that, and that we can actually come together. And I think the cool thing about, I mean, if there is like one positive, is that I think people are actually communicating more now, especially among their close circles, because we don't have a choice. We can't just, you know, see that person at work the next day, or, you know, at church or whatever. So now I think we're actually communicating more, and we're opening up this discussion, this pathway to, you know, try to figure out what we should be doing. And hopefully the government doesn't enact martial law, because that would be terrifying. That would absolutely be terrifying to see something like that in this country. But I feel like it's something that is very plausible and something that could happen.
Yeah, that's why people just need to take the best of their abilities to treat this as something real, but not act stupid with it, to be serious and, you know, conservative in a way that is going to save lives and not affect the society or of anything in a negative way, because we can band together and actually realize that we have more resources when we come together and we don't rely on the government.
So I think it's super interesting what this virus is doing to us socially. I think it's bringing people closer together, and I think it's bringing us back to our roots to remind us what really matters, which is, you know, taking care of our families, our loved ones, and taking care of ourselves. And so this is kind of, you know, it's a bad thing, but if there's any positive out of it, I think it's that we are coming closer together as a society, as a group of people. So it's very interesting times we're living in. But if you want to follow Auzzy, I'll put his links along with everyone else's down in the description. My next guest on this episode of Project Freelance is Jodi, Cilley, and she is a film professor, and she also works with the Film Consortium of San Diego, and they put on film festivals every year. So I wanted to hear what's going on in the film festival world, as well as the, you know, college world. And I thought this would be a very interesting guest. She was actually referred to me by Graham Sheldon, who you heard earlier on the podcast. So thank you, Graham, for putting me in touch with Jodi. And Jodi, can you just introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience? And then we'll jump into this part of the episode.
Okay, I'm Jodi Cilley. I'm a film professor at San Diego City College, and I also am the founder and president of the Film Consortium of San Diego, which produces the annual San Diego Film Week and San Diego Film Awards.
So how has the coronavirus been affecting you and your different industries? You're a professor, so I'm sure your school's probably closed right now, right?
Well, actually, our entire school has gone online. So they gave us this week to get prepared. Luckily, I like being online, so it was not super hard for me personally to adjust, but we're talking about, you know, a school that's been largely analog for its existence. Even, you know, the last year or so, some of they really tried to start putting things online, but this has sort of forced that situation to occur a lot faster. And then with the Film Consortium, we've had to postpone our big event. We were scheduled for April 22nd to May 3rd for San Diego Film Week. We have all of our locations and everything. We even have our schedule locked in, and then we had to push the entire event to the end of August, and still sort of hoping that that's going to work out, as in, you know, it's still unclear. There's no timeline here that's, you know, assured to any of us. So we have to hope that by the end of August, things will have resolved positively and we can go on with our event. But yeah, we had to push everything, cancel our workshops, sort of just put the whole thing on hold until we figure out what's the best way to move forward.
So I'm sure you guys have been planning these like film festival events for months, maybe a year. What's that like for you to have to, you know, put that all on hold and like reschedule everything and be so up in the air about it? Has that put an effect on the team mentally?
Well, I think we're a little lucky in that the timing worked out for us personally really well, in that we hadn't really paid for all of our venues yet, for any of our venues yet. We hadn't announced our schedule yet. We were literally one day away from announcing our schedule, so we hadn't sold any tickets yet. So in a way, we were lucky in that we were able to pick the entire event up and just move it to, end of August without having to change too much. And of course, I like to look at things in a positive light. So I'm like, well, more time for marketing. This will be great. Sure. But yeah, it's a we were really ramping up. Things were getting pretty fun and stressful. And then suddenly now we're just sort of sitting around, finishing up things that aren't going to go into effect for a couple different months. We were also lucky in that our locations were available still. 100% of our locations were available in the same order we originally wanted them. We have 8 locations across San Diego County. So that was just pure luck. But I will say, I'm probably the 6th film festival to postpone or cancel. And some of these film festivals, were days away from happening, like the San Diego Latino Film Festival here in town. And they had to completely, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do. That was not as much of a clean shift as like what we're doing. They had to pretty much just cancel a day before they were supposed to, open. And that means, a lot of contracted work was already in place. That means all their venues were already paid for. And they really had to take a big hit for this. So I count myself as lucky, but I'm not sure that, others in the industry here are as lucky.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear, that all these events are being postponed. So I think there's a lot of people being affected by this indirectly. And what are you focusing your time on now? I mean, obviously you have online classes, so I assume that's taking most of your focus. But for freelancers out there that are, stuck at home and they don't know what to do you have any tips for them of what they could be doing during this time?
Well, it's kind of a challenging moment. And, I read the question the other day and I started thinking about it. And, a couple things. One, I think it's important for us to just help each other out. This is like devastating, the entertainment industry, especially at the independent film level, because we're talking about all these filmmakers and freelancers and everybody who works as independent contractors for events and for film projects that have all been postponed either well into the future or indefinitely. And so, me personally, like I teach, so I have a stable employment, but a lot of people that in San Diego in the entertainment industry don't have a stable job, and therefore their entire income stream just dried up overnight. And that scares me a lot more than anything else. So I think the number one thing we need to do is look at each other and look at the other people in the community here. We have a very tight-knit community. We have a very diverse community. I think we need to look at each other and help each other out as much as possible. We're looking for ways to do that as an organization. So, we as an organization have shifted to sort of just focus on, just getting everything done for the event and shifting some of our events online and, just sort of focusing on, getting what we have to do done, but also we're looking at ways that we can potentially organize something that can help the community here connect with others in the community that can potentially provide food or, basic needs, support. I don't know about financial. That's something we're thinking about as well. But I just think that we need to help each other out right now, because focusing on marketing or focusing on, if you have the luxury to be focusing on marketing, great. But there's a lot of people who just literally have no work right now and probably won't for several months and are living paycheck to paycheck. These aren't people who, are doing this for fun. They're doing this because it's, to pay their bills, and this is a really challenging and scary time for those people. So that's really what I would love for people to think about, is helping each other out and helping each other get through this. Some of us have more than others, and we need to do what we can to support our community and make sure that this coronavirus, although not affecting anyone that I know of in our community, doesn't devastate our community just by its economic effects. Obviously, this is a problem across the country, but I think it's particularly a problem in the freelance community, because there is no stability of employment. If all the events and all the film productions just go away, there's nothing left. So, you're not talking about people who have savings, or not, who have insurance to kind of cover them. So, that's what I'd really suggest people do. And of course, we're all stuck at home, or we're expected to be self, distancing from others. So as a teacher, I would just add, I think it's a great time to learn more. I've got a list of movies I'm going to be watching. I'm going to add, I got one, all the major film movements that maybe I haven't seen yet or haven't seen in a while. I've got a lot of film, research I'd like to do. So I think, anytime you're alone and we're kind of staying at home, it's a good time to sort of educate yourself a little bit more, study film, brush up on certain techniques, practice your craft. My joke to my students was, they should, perfect low budget film is like one location, a couple actors inside your house, right? So now might be a great time to practice that low budget filmmaking while we are all expected to be, staying at home.
And have you seen the ripple effect of all this panic, not only in your industry, but outside? Have you seen other people being affected by this in different industries?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that's the most frustrating is more the panic around it, because it's creating, especially in San Diego, a shortage of supplies, creating a lot of misinformation. It's creating a lot of fear, and sort of like I've seen so many like social media posts where people are just saying these really like crazy end of time conspiracy theory, then the water is going to cut out, and then, let's all calm down. Let's look at what happened in the other countries. Did their water go out? Did their electricity go out? Did the world fall apart? Like it's caused huge problems, but it's typically with the healthcare industry. I think we all need to not feed into that and just sort of state the facts. I've had to tell a couple people that were sending this stuff to me via direct message to stop trying to panic me, because everyone's saying that I'm not panicked enough. This is a couple of my friends have pointed out I'm not panicked enough because I am not, freaking out at the level that they think I should be, and I just don't think that helps anything. What it's doing is causing more problems by creating shortages of things that are that everybody needs, and that's scarier to me than a lot of the other problems that are going to come up. We need to all remain calm and relax, and follow the rules and follow the directives of the agencies that are in charge, and not lose our minds, because it's not helping. It's really not helping.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that everyone's being affected in different ways, I think is super interesting. My father, for example, lives overseas and he works for an oil company, and, the oil economy is tanking as well. So they're freaking out all over the world. And I think we really do need to, calm down. And even like, if you look at like the stock market, the stocks are crashing, but we've seen in history that what goes down will go back up, So I think people need to just remember that things will go back to normal. This isn't the zombie apocalypse, like it's not the end times. I think we're going to be okay after all. Are you a part of a union or any unions, or do you know if unions are helping creators out?
I am part of the teachers union, and doesn't seem to be, I mean, right now I can't really answer that question, to be honest. I don't really know. I mean, the emails I've gotten have been more about just moving things online. So in terms of my school, no one's financially affected yet by this because everybody's just being asked to move their education component online, of which a lot of it was already online to begin with. Several of the classes I teach are online. So that's a hard one to answer for me. I probably don't really know. I haven't heard a lot. I have quite a few friends in SAG-AFTRA, so I'll ask them. But so far, I think it's so new. I think I'm just this week starting to see people actually, posting resources and support for what's going on. And the government's coming out with their plans. So I think it's a little too soon to tell. But for me, I haven't seen anything from our union that indicates that they're going to help or try and do anything.
For sure. And then if this lasts until, say, August, do you have a personal plan? Because, your school semester probably ends, in like May? What will you do if this lasts until August?
Well, school, personally, if all of our classes go online, then that's fine for me and my job. For our company, for San Diego Film Week and Film Consortium, we're just going to have to weather it out, I don't feel like we're one of the businesses that would be at risk to shut. But I think if anything, we would just have to consider moving our event again, maybe partnering with some of the other film festivals in town to help coordinate something, and move our own, because we teach workshops as well, move that online so we have that component still going, and really shift our energy to helping our community here. I think would be the biggest thing we'd have to do ongoing, is see because we have a really phenomenal, robust film community in San Diego. And I think we're in a unique position to be able to help coordinate, assistance efforts within our community. So that's something we're really going to have to step up if this continues. Our goal was to get through this week, see how things are looking, and go from there and see, what kind of efforts we need to step into to help the community around us. But yeah, the financial, the illness, it's so funny that to me, the illness isn't the real problem. It is the problem. Obviously, it's causing the underlying problem. But the financial impact of this is huge and devastating. And this was a tough year already for independent contractors, especially with the AB5 law that went into effect. So it was almost like we already took a huge hit from that. And then suddenly this incredibly devastating hit from the coronavirus pandemic / panic. I think it's just for the community more than I've ever seen, and we've been doing this since 2012. So I think really helping each other out. Luckily, we have a very supportive community. People work together. They volunteer on sets. They help each other on their productions. They step up when it's needed, and I think it will be very needed in the next several months to do that, both on a creative level, perhaps helping each other out with projects, volunteering your time to finish films. Because at the end of the day, we're the filmmakers, right? So we need to tell these stories too. You can't just disappear. We need to be telling these stories. We need to be capturing these documentaries. Another thing I ask my students to do, now's a great time to make a documentary. And we need to keep going as artists and as a community and as content creators. But, just with the understanding that there is, a lot of uncertainty financially in the community, and that we need to do our best to help each other out through that.
Absolutely. And do you have any questions?
We're going to be fine, though. I really do feel like you brought up what are some of the other things you're hearing from people that you're interviewing?
So I've interviewed people that are musicians, that are filmmakers. I interviewed somebody that's in the adult film world. She also does sports radio, and she's over in New York City. So I've been mostly hearing about what's going on in these different cities that my guests are in, and how people are being affected there in their different industries. And so I think across the board, everyone is kind of saying similar things, about what's going on, and everyone's got like a different plan for if it's a short-term thing or a long-term thing. But it's been very, very interesting getting to talk to people from many different industries over the course of the past 2 days. I've had nothing but time, and that's the same with everybody else. So I've done like 7 or 8 episodes in 2 days. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, right. It's a great time to create. Great time to finish projects. But I appreciate that you're doing a podcast about this. It's also just an important time to look out for each other, and help each other understand what's going on, and keep the hype down to a minimum, please.
Yeah, definitely.
I live in part-time down in Mexico, and I would just, I don't know if I would. I mean, I would state that this place can sometimes be one step above a zombie apocalypse to begin with, and the general panic is way lower than what's going on in the U.S. And what panic we are getting is because we're right across the border. So a lot of people live down here, work up there, or travel down here quite a bit. So it kind of crossed the border, I'd say maybe 4 days ago. It's when people started panicking around here. And it's an interesting cultural situation, because you've got people a lot of people live in poverty down here, and they're kind of on the edge of, not good things happening always. And so I think it keeps the reality in check a little bit. Whereas in the U.S., it's like we're kind of used to doing our thing and buying whatever we want and living our life. And, just like having small things inaccessible to us is like a huge problem compared to like the reality, I mean, you can live without some of these things that people are losing their mind over, and be perfectly fine, and it's going to be okay. Like, let's try and understand that we can, we're going to move on, and it's going to be fine. And ultimately the markets will recover, and ultimately we'll get to go back outside again, and life will go on as normal. But, the panic and the fear is just feeding it and making it worse.
Thank you so much for coming on Project Freelance and sharing some of your insight about what's going on in your industry. Where can people find you online or on socials?
Well, on Facebook, we're FilmCon SD, Film Consortium San Diego. Wait, let me back up. On Twitter and Instagram, it's at FilmCon SD, FilmCon SD. And on social media, Film Consortium San Diego Facebook page, and we have several groups as well. But if you go to our Facebook page, it'll connect you with all the local groups that we organize.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jodi. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. All right, so that was Jodi Cilley. Thank you so much for coming on Project Freelance and sharing with everyone what's going on in the film festival and also in the college fields. My roommate is a film student as well, and his classes have been canceled for the week, and they're trying to move things online, but he can't even edit his projects because Adobe Premiere costs money, so unfortunately right now it's pretty hard for film students, and I think Adobe should do something to give back during this time. So hopefully we'll see them do something like that so that editors can continue to work during this time, especially for students. They should give free licenses to students, I think. But anyway, let's get into our next section of this podcast and talk to our next guest. All right, so our next guest is a tattoo artist out of New York. He is the owner of Sink or Swim Tattoo. He also runs a clothing line called Apparition Apparel, and I wanted to ask him what it's like out in New York. I wanted to know what it's like for tattoo artists right now, how the coronavirus is affecting the tattoo industry. This is something that, you probably didn't think about, but service-based industries right now are completely shut down. So we're going to talk not only about tattooing, but about some of the other businesses that are being shut down currently because of this virus. So let's get into this portion of the episode with Keith. Please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the Project Freelance audience.
Keith Kuzara, and a tattoo artist slash tattoo shop owner. I own a shop called Sink or Swim Tattoo.
So tell me about how this pandemic, how this coronavirus situation is affecting you and your line of work.
Well, it's definitely affecting us very negatively. Just like it's affecting a ton of other small businesses negatively. So we shut down officially Tuesday, March 17th. There was a ton of rumors of whether there was an official order to shut down in New York State or not, and things were getting crazy. But as of tomorrow, we're actually we have an official order set in state by New York, and that's indefinite right now. There's no end date currently.
Wow, that's man, like I can't believe how much it's affecting everybody, you know. But I mean, to keep your mind off of like, you know, that part of it. What are you doing at home? What are you focusing on now, or what do you plan to focus on? Because this is still pretty fresh for you. So what do you have like an idea of what you're gonna do while you're home?
Yeah, it's definitely scary, but I'm keeping super busy. We're doing a little bit of cleaning at the house, stuff we normally wouldn't have time to do, but also crushing out a ton of artwork. I have a clothing company as well that I run with my wife, so we're getting caught up on a bunch of designs. So it's not all negative, but it's definitely scary because not everybody has money to throw around right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can relate. I'm a freelance filmmaker, like content creator, so you know we're in the same boat. We just do different things. So I think it's important that we like try to help other people that are out there, you know, potentially listening to this right now, to give them some tips and some ideas of what they could be working on during this time. If they're, you know, talk to the other tattoo artists out there, like what could they be doing right now to keep themselves busy?
Yeah, self-employed people and creatives are definitely getting crushed right now because nobody has extra income at the moment and nobody knows when this thing is going to end. But I definitely recommend putting out some artwork, making some prints of stuff you have, making new flash, taking commissions, making some t-shirts, whatever it is. Got to give it a shot just to supplement some sort of income.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So have you seen a ripple effect from outside your industry? Like, do you have friends in other industries that are seeing the same kind of thing, that maybe that aren't creatives, maybe they work like at a restaurant? Like, have you seen anything outside of your industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the cosmetology, any business that's, you know, sort of in the same boat as a tattoo shop. I've got a couple of friends that are barbers. They're shut down as well. Anybody that, you know, gets close to a person for the most part, because we can't practice the 6-foot rule in any way, we're all shut down.
Wow, man. So if this lasts till, you know, maybe August, like, do you have a long-term plan for what you're going to do? Or are you just trying to figure out are you still trying to like grasp that this is happening?
It's definitely still super new for us, but we're just taking it week by week right now. Hopefully this thing disappears as soon as it came on, but I definitely think that if everybody takes it seriously enough and just listens to what, you know, the government has to say and the CDC and whatnot.
So that was Keith Kuzara. If you guys want to follow him on social media, his @ is Keithason. I will put it down in the description as well. And don't forget, if you guys want to scroll around, jump around in this podcast and listen to different guests, all of the guests are listed down in the description with the time codes of where they start. And I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. If you are liking it, please be sure to leave a rating and some feedback. And if you leave feedback, I will actually send you a signed photo print. All you have to do is leave feedback, take a screenshot, and then DM me on Instagram @ Project Freelance, and I'll get that out to you as soon as I'm allowed to mail things. My next guest is Jaime Bennington, a writer and film director. And not only does he write and direct, he also has an Airbnb that he rents out to people. And this month was his first month with Airbnb, and the coronavirus has kind of brought everything to a halt, even the Airbnb industry. So we're going to talk to Jaime about what it's like in Arizona right now, how the people are handling this, how he's handling this, what his plans are, and just overall what's going on in his world as far as filmmaking goes and as far as Airbnb goes. So here is Jaime Bennington. Jaime, can you please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the audience?
My name is Jaime Bennington, and I am a director. And for the most part right now, I'm a director. I do a little bit of Airbnb, though. Those are my two streams of income.
Well, that's super interesting because I also wanted to talk about Airbnb, but let's start with filmmaking stuff. How has the coronavirus affected you and your industry?
I don't really work with a lot of people when it comes to shooting things. Like I'm working on my short film right now, and my editor, his son, got really sick. We don't know if it was the coronavirus or not, but he was passing it on to my editor and to other people. And then he got better, and then he got sick again within the same 2 weeks. So we almost had our last editing session, which was the last one that we would need for a picture lock, because his son got sick again. And we weren't sure whether or not it was safe to go do that. And if it wasn't, then we would have had to postpone editing indefinitely, because if he's got it and they don't have a cure for it and everybody else has got it, then that's a problem. With the commercial I was going to do, I was going to shoot this commercial for this company called NVS, New View Systems. And right now we were going to do the commercial for a conference where it would be shown with a bunch of other commercials. And that whole thing has been moved in its entirety. I won't know anything about the commercial until like April 12th, which is a long time away for somebody who is waiting on that check. But they don't want to work buddy, because they have to worry about the company itself and everybody who works for it. But then they also have to worry about all the people they would be going and interacting with at the conference. So that was a very interesting thing I had to talk about this morning, which was, when and if we were going to do this. And they were kind of like, well, we don't know. It may never happen. At this point, we're not really sure, but we'll know in like 2 weeks.
Oh man, it's so tough right now because so I just got done doing a conference in Vegas actually, and it was like 75% of the speakers pulled out last minute because of everything that's going on. So literally I had the last day I was there, I had one session to record. That was it. One session the entire day, and it was at 3 p.m.
That's horrible. That's insane. That's 75%.
75% of the
and
speakers.
That's before the borders were closed.
Yeah, they closed them literally like
that's insane.
2 days after. It was quite crazy to be there and just see the entire place turn into a ghost town like overnight. They just had all these people pull out, and so it's super interesting to hear about all these other conferences and festivals and all these events that are being postponed or canceled or pushed back, and everyone seems to be uncertain about what's going on. Do you have a plan? Like, do you have like a short-term plan if this lasts, say, a month? Do you have a long-term plan if this lasts till, I don't know, August, which is what some people are saying, which is crazy to think about. But I know that this stuff is still super fresh, especially in your mind with everything you heard this morning. But do you have any planning in place for those cases?
One of the issues with learning all of that information this morning, my job is to run my property and to do freelance work for commercials, music videos, things like that. So, there's no stream of income at all. And that was a big fear of mine. I actually had to call my property manager and be like, can I just get the way with Airbnb, you get paid or at least for me, I get paid mid next month for everything I made this month. And I was like, I can't, I need to buy food. Can you just, make an exception? But if we're being honest, that's all I got, right? Because then I was also going to have income from the commercial, but I don't have that either. So right now it's like spend as little money as possible, but make it count where it should, like, food, things like that. And for long term, I mean, I don't know. I just moved. That's the real kicker, is like I just moved and like got situated in another place and started up this Airbnb, and I don't have money. So it's like, it's a really interesting position, because like 2 weeks ago, if you had told me like that was going to happen, I would have been laughing at you. I'd been like, what are you talking about? This is so cool. Cause I actually have, even for my house, I have 2 months booked, and now they're all gone. So it's like, it's very interesting. It's really funny though, cause I made a reservation for myself so that I can block out a couple days. And I'm the only one on that list now. So it's like, I have no idea what to do. I guess just be real careful with spending money. But I mean, then again, there's not much I need to spend money on. I'm stuck inside. So,
Yeah, that's the good thing. We're not like stuck, you're not in another country. Like I've heard people that are like stranded in Germany or Italy even, that can't go anywhere, that are literally like in this shit situation. And I mean, I don't know what we're going to do in the long term, and hopefully it doesn't last until August like they're saying, but I mean, man, it's I definitely feel for you as a freelancer and somebody that runs an Airbnb. So have you seen the ripple effect from all of this chaos and this panic outside of, your industry as like a filmmaker, and even Airbnb? That's a ripple effect, like this is getting pretty crazy. But yeah, what else have you seen out there?
I've seen a lot of people. Okay, so specifically with the Airbnb, I've seen people be super interested. Oddly enough, they're not interested. It's not like they're all scared that they're going to contract something. They don't want to travel. It's more like, we just need to stay home so we don't do something dangerous, like transmit it to somebody else, or, it's actually kind of thoughtful, and it's hard, because one of the reservations I had was with a father and his child, and he was like, I can't like fulfill my end of the deal because I have to take care of my kid who has come into contact with coronavirus. And like in that situation, like how do you say no? Like how do you not give the man his money back, even if it is a substantial amount? Like, he's just worried about his kid. So it's really interesting. There are actually some people on the reservation list that just like, they're waiting. I think Airbnb said April 14th was the day they were holding full refunds until. So basically, right now, it's probably bad if I say this, but you could go to Airbnb and cancel your reservation and get your full amount back. And they'll do that through April 14th. I have people on my list waiting until like April 14th to say that they don't, want to do it, because they're holding out hope that they can go somewhere. It's not that they don't want to go somewhere. So that's really interesting to me. I almost want to do like a weird like Corona discount or something.
Just come and
like,
stay.
I don't care if you guys infect the place. Just come for a lower fee. I don't care. Like, but what were you saying?
I was saying, for me, I do a lot of stock video and photo as well. And the one thing I want to do right now that nobody's in Los Angeles is go to Los Angeles and take photos of the empty streets. But I don't want to be that asshole that's out there, transmitting this disease or this virus to other people. So I'm like just staying at home, sad, and just hoping that this passes
maybe
quickly.
You could get like a cool outfit or something, Well, how is it transmitted? Is it saliva? Because I heard it's in the throat, and you should cover your face and stuff, and you should wash your hands. So I'm not sure what I don't know what the transmitting factor is, but you could wear gloves and a mask, and you could be really cool about it. I think that's another thing that I find interesting, is that people are literally panicking about something that's essentially the flu. The most comedic of that is the shortage of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Right. seen that where it's like none of the symptoms are pooping yourself. Not one of them. And people are just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. I guess I should just buy all the toilet paper and like ranch dressing. It's really weird. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. And that's kind of one of the things that I've been coping with is like, well, now I have so much time to do the things I want to do. Like the writing I was going to do or getting ready for projects that I was going to do that I, can be fully prepared for now that I have the time to do it. Even if that means that I'm not, making any money, that still says something because you can freak out that you're not getting paid or you can freak out that you're stuck in a room, but there's a lot you can do in a room. And that's kind of what I'm doing is like figuring out, okay, well, what were all the things that I wanted to do, but didn't have time to do. And now I'm doing that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe devil's advocate, you should go to LA and take a bunch of pictures of empty streets.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to be making a bunch of documentaries after this thing is blown over, so they're going to need some stock footage. Right. And so that's my thinking, I'm like, oh God, I could be that person to supply all the stock footage for the BBC documentaries. And
well, people are super weird too, because right now, like yesterday, I was in downtown Sedona, just like going to the store, and there are so many people out there who could be infected. And everybody's going about business as usual. In Flagstaff, it's not the same. But in Sedona, it's like old people, like 60s and up easily. That's the majority of the people on the streets. And they are like asking people for hand sanitizer, like out at the stores buying things, out going to just like do normal things. And I just don't understand why they're not going home. Like you think that they would want to go home. It's just weird. Like people have really weird reactions. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Especially those that are most at risk. You would think that they would be the first to be home, but they're like, nope, let's just go dilly-dally and look at stuff at the grocery store and buy all the freaking toilet paper. I had to buy some tissue today. I just got tissue. I was like, hey, they're out of toilet paper, but they got tissue, so we're good. We good.
Yeah, right? But that's the thing too, is like people are so eager to panic and get the things that they feel they need, like toilet paper, that it's like, okay, but what about the people who need it? What about the kids or, the parents that are struggling to keep their families afloat right now, or even the old people out there who can't fend for themselves. Like I saw an article, I think it was either this morning or last night, where it was like elderly people are going to the stores to buy things and they can't buy them because they don't exist. Like they're just not there, right? And I know people in retail who are like, yeah, we put pallets of this out and it was gone in 5 minutes. We put pallets of this out, it was gone in 3 minutes. It's like a whole aisle, and you're just wondering where the compassion is, especially for older people. I mean, really, people our age aren't the ones infected and sick. We're the ones infected and like passing it along. So it's interesting. it's kind of a bug, all of it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a clusterfuck. And, it's our generation needs to be the ones to, help where we can and stay out of the way where we can. And I think that's super important right now. So is the government doing anything to help you out, or are they talking about anything interesting that you think could help you out as far as like, finances go over the next couple of months?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, it's hard enough as a freelancer in anything to get paid. But especially as an artist, as somebody who's like making movies or making music videos or things like that, you're like, if you're not part of a studio or something, you're kind of screwed because you're by project and people can pull. I haven't seen, I personally built to be as hard as possible anyways. And they're definitely not, I mean, I haven't seen anything to supplement any kind of lost income or anything just to be helpful for any reason. I know that they're closing down borders. I was hearing a lot today that state borders are shut, or they're going to be. I think all the international ones are definitely closed. But I mean, no, I haven't seen anything. It just seems like right now everybody's kind of like oh wait, this is serious. You know, like for about 2 or 3 weeks there, it was just like, oh, somebody has the cold. It's just a cold, like no big deal. And now it seems like everybody's a little bit more on the panic side of it, of like, oh shit, this is real. We can't cure it. Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
And but you know, with that being said, a little side note is that it couldn't have happened at a worse time for college students. I'm not a college student right now, but this week is spring break, which is probably why it was spread so crazily, because there were people like already traveling for like a trip. And, you know, you tell a bunch of people in college, like, it doesn't matter, you know, what your degree track is. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, hey, you can't do this. They're going to be like, fuck you, I'm going to do it. Like, it's spring break. What do you want me to do? Suffer more? I'm going to suffer less. I'm going to go places. And it's just funny for me to watch, because I'm in Flagstaff around NAU a lot, where I'm just like, why? Like, that is the worst time. I don't know if it's a sense of humor on part of Mother Nature or not, but you know, that's a fucking zinger. Because there are a lot of people partying right now. Like, you don't have to even guess for that. It's a college town. People are like, oh, it's quarantine, let's get wasted. And that's hilarious to me, because that's the whole thing we're trying not to do. But no, back to the topic. No, I have not seen any moves by the state to do anything. No. Have you?
I mean, I've heard that there's like a stimulus package thing that the government's working on to like give every adult $1,000 a month until this is passed, which, you know, would be sick, but it's every adult. That's a ton of money, trillions of dollars.
Wait, I'm gonna just real quick. I'm gonna Google that shit. How many people live in the United States?
I think it was like 320 million or something. I Googled it the other day, but that's people, not adults.
Yeah, it's 327.2 million as of 2018. So it's more than that now. But I mean, even if hold on, what's the math on that? Even if that was 300 million people or 200 million people at $1,000 every month.
It was like quadrillion. It was in the quadrillions.
It's like more than we actually, like, we're in debt more than that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to pay with? You're just going to start printing money? Great idea. Well, the dollar is a dollar no matter what, right? we're back in the 2020s again.
Yeah, exactly.
We are back in the 20s. Fuck. All right, Great Depression.
Oh, yep,
We're
the
going to get the
20s.
later
Here
depression.
We go. Yep, it's still happening. I'm trying to find like a monetary amount that they're saying. But it was pretty significant as of like this morning. $850 billion.
Okay, cool. They're gonna get Disney to pay for
it. Disney's shut down. They can't afford it.
Right? Man, that's crazy.
It's a great idea, but like, money? Come on.
Yeah, really. I mean, honestly, if they have that much in their pockets to just give to people, then we're doing government very, very wrong. Not to get political about it, but I mean, that seems like an excessive amount of money for anybody. There's a certain limit where you can't do anything else. So, if that money is real, gimme. I want it. Money me, money now.
Money me, money now, please.
Not, then stop talking about it, because you're gonna hurt my feelings.
Amen.
Not you.
To that.
I mean,
the government. What questions do you have during this time as a freelancer? Like, do you have anything that you're curious about, or anything that you wish that could be answered?
Well, my editor actually invested in a company called Inovio. I believe that's what it's called. INOVIO. And they're working on a cure for this thing, which is super cool, because it's really cool that they're curing it, but it's really like the thing that they're using to give the vaccine. It's like an electron gun. It's the coolest thing ever. It's like no needles. It goes straight to your cells. It's really cool. I'll have to look at it. I'll try to find a link for you. But I'm not super at this point. I'm not super worried that they're not gonna find a cure. I think it's gonna be sooner than later. But I just think that we kind of have a problem afterwards. My question really is like, how do you bounce back from a lot of this stuff? Like, imagine it just being cleared up in 2 weeks, and people have spent, how much time raiding Walmarts. It's like, at what point do you feel kind of silly about it? I get the panic, but I'm kind of wondering what the social fallout is going to be. And then I guess I'm just wondering how long I'm going to have to be inside, really. I'm an outdoors person, man. I don't outside so much. At least not for like 2 weeks, I'll take a couple days here and there, but I get boxed in. I'm kind of worried. We spent the last day just inside. Like probably the last 4 or 5 days we've spent inside, with the exception of a single hike. And it's been kind of fun, but also really not in a lot of ways, because I just want to go out. Like, I don't want to. But maybe that's just me being butthurt, right? Maybe that's me just being like, I wish I was working. But I also think too that when you're a freelance person, you kind of what you're doing. As much as it sucks that you don't, like, we're not working right now. Well, a lot of us, I'm sure somebody is working on something, but that comes with the territory. Like, you get into it and you're like, yeah, I may not make money this month, but that's kind of the thing about choosing the jobs that you want to do. And as unfortunate as that is at this moment, it is actually really freeing. So I'm kind of like biting the bullet. Like, I'm just kind of like, I'm okay with it. Like, I knew what I was getting into, and you took the risk. And horribly enough, the first month that anything starts to pan out, you get a country devastating flu virus. So, there's some humor in it. You have to laugh at it. There's no way it's not funny, like, that's pretty fucking hilarious to me. I mean, I literally got my Airbnb up and running. This was the first month of me actually running it. All the work to put into doing this. I get one person in my property, and then there's nobody. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, I don't know. Like I said earlier, like, I don't know if it's just a zinger or what, but I think it's kind of funny. I obviously not funny that people are dying, but the humor of the situation is definitely there. But questions, I don't know, man. Like, what is the government doing? Because as far as I'm concerned, like, or as far as I know, it's that these like pharmaceutical companies are doing their best. But like, we were kind of even joking about, didn't Trump just meet two like ambassadors from Brazil or some shit, and they had corona? I think that might not be true, but I read something about that, and they were like, yeah, we got corona. And he's just like, let's go meet all these people. I don't know. Like, I think it probably is an understatement to say that our government probably should be handling this a little better. But, I just want to know what they're doing. I want to know if there's any, I mean, I like the idea of a stimulus plan for sure. I don't even know. I don't even know if I know enough about coronavirus to have real questions about it. I'm just kind of hoping that it gets cured quickly and that we handle it better in the future, and that everybody who's suffering from it gets better. It's a lot of people. I mean, Tom Hanks. If Tom Hanks died, I'm going to be like really sad. That's horrible. That's what really, I'm not lying. That got me scared when Tom Hanks was like, I have coronavirus. I was like, oh, cool. So this is what we're doing now. This is how serious this is. This guy isn't even here. But I've seen some really uplifting videos of people like Italy. Have you seen the videos in Italy where people are like playing music together on balconies and shit?
Yeah, I think that's really so powerful. Cool. It's so powerful that they've come together in their different communities, and like I saw a video yesterday. This guy said every night at 6 p.m. he like does a DJ set out of his apartment windows. He like has a PA set up, and he'll do like a DJ set every night. So sick.
That's cool. That's amazing. And it's like, it's really interesting how they managed to get so many people to do it. You know, like it's a lot of people. Some of these videos, it's like it's got to be like 100 people performing at the same time. And I think if anything, my hope would be that we see things like that. But yeah, anyways, I think that that's a really empowering thing. And I think in general, it would be really, really nice if we could move towards that, that like cohesive bond between people. Just be like really, I don't know. There's just something uplifting about it. And I think even with or without sickness, I think the thing is like I see it and I'm like, okay, well that seems to be a result. And I don't know much of their culture, so I'm not really sure if that's just how people are or if it's just a result of quarantine. But I see it personally as a result of quarantine, and I don't see why we need to be so sick to have that kind of harmony with each other. Literally. That wasn't even supposed to be a joke, but it was. But no, I think the harmony in the videos it's just between people is just very, very uplifting. And I hope we can take that as a lesson of anything, because it's not going to be the last virus. It's not going to be the last epidemic or pandemic, I think is the word they use, not epidemic, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I hope we can get to that point of harmony.
What do you think?
Are
you saying anything that's particular? Yeah, like what's going on over there? Because I haven't been to California in a while.
So LA has just shut down everything. They've shut down all nightclubs, restaurants, everything that's non-essential. They've shut down in Los Angeles, so there's nothing going on up there right now. And then the same. I actually live in Orange County, so I'm like 45 minutes south of LA.
Yeah.
But the same thing's going on here.
Are you still 45 minutes?
Right now I'm probably 30.
Yeah, right.
I could probably run there and be there quickly. But yeah, even in Orange County, like I was talking to a friend of mine who works for a catering company, and they pick up from restaurants and bring food to offices every day, and that's what they do. And now that all these restaurants are changing their hours, and now that people are working remotely from home, my friend just got told, like, you guys can leave and come back on April 1st. So everyone's pretty much off the clock right now.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I guess that's a question I have, is that like, how do you deal with people, freelancers, but like people like that who are like, you just go home, like you can't work, because it's not a choice and it's not a lack of choice. It's like the thing still exists, right? But you're just not allowed to use it or use it as frequently. Like I mean, I know people in LA, of course. I lived there for a couple of years, and I know that they work like multiple jobs. I mean, they're not freelance, but they do work like 2 or 3 jobs. And if those are closing down and they're barely making ends meet, with 3 jobs, then how do you help those people? I mean, I would hope that there is help for those people, but it's fascinating. Yeah, I'm sure the traffic is much thinner, huh?
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a very interesting, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like an interesting social experiment as well, to see how we're going to react to something like this. And we're seeing how unprepared this country is for something like this. And Bill Gates had a TED Talk like 5 years ago where he forewarned us that, in a couple of years, there's going to be a pandemic that's going to it could wipe out, so many millions of people. And he said that we need to start preparing, and we would be able to fight it if we started preparing. And we didn't heed his warning. And now we're seeing the ramifications of that. And he just left Microsoft. So now he's like trying to do things outside of that and help with this problem that we're now facing, So he was ahead of the curve for sure. So I'm sure he already had all of his toilet paper at home.
Oh, I'm sure that he was probably smart enough to go, oh, I don't need that toilet paper. I'm sure that he was like, oh yeah, to be prepared, I need some alcohol, and I need to be a certain age. I'm just going to go home and and he probably has his own grocery store in his house, right? So he doesn't have to worry about that. But like no doubt he was most likely prepared. And unfortunately, I totally believe that he did say something like that, and we didn't heed it. I mean, there are so many things that we should not be doing over things that we should be doing, and preparing people for sickness is definitely one of them. Yeah, I mean that's such a vibrant place too. There's so many people. Is it like a ghost town, or is it just you see a couple people here and there and it gives off the appearance of being?
Yeah, here in Orange County, it's not really a ghost town, to be honest with you. People are still going about their regular day. I mean, as far as regular day goes, is mostly let's go hang out at the grocery store again, So it's mostly people at grocery stores. I had to go to the pharmacy this morning, which I was dreading because I was like, oh my God, are they going to not let us into the pharmacy? What's the situation? But I had to, get screened. And so I got screened for it and all that stuff. So super interesting, super, super interesting time we're living in. But yeah.
What about LA? Is LA just weird to be around now? Or is it just...
I actually haven't been up there since all this popped off. I was in Vegas, and then I got back from Vegas, and I was immediately in my house, just quarantined, really. So I haven't even been up to LA to see what it's like. But I mean, I've seen some photos here and there of.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I should look at that. That'd be an interesting thing to look at. Is pictures of LA right now and what people are. I bet there are a whole, there's going to be a whole brand of influencer now. Right, they're going to be health conscious, and they're going to have feeds dedicated to abandoned places. just look, this was life a week ago. Isn't it morbid and weird? And people are going to be like, yeah, here's a Nike sponsorship. It's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see how people because social media is such a crazy thing. It's very random sometimes, but I wonder if there are going to be whole trends based on quarantine, and I don't know, because I'm thinking of TikTok too, not just Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I'm thinking there's a lot of people in LA and they're all creative, and they would probably get creative after a while of being locked in a room. But what's interesting too is that I know that Vegas is empty right now. Up there, and they were telling me that essentially all non-essential jobs, pretty much anything outside of police and first responders and stuff, they've kind of been given the green light to shut down. My aunt's an optometrist, and they're like, yeah, you go home. Don't worry about it. So I'm interested as to why people in this state of Arizona don't do that. And I'm interested to know whether they did that in California. Do you know if they did that in California? If they just started, because you just said that, some people who were just told to go home, but businesses that shut down because of that.
Yeah, I think they're starting to do that kind of stuff here. I know that I've been reading articles or even emails from the places that I visit. I had a tattoo laser removal session scheduled yesterday, and they pushed back everything 30 days. Same with my dentist office, said that no dental procedures will be done for the next about 30 days. So pretty much anything that's not life-threatening or coronavirus related is pretty much shut down.
That's so fascinating. I didn't think about doctors and stuff like that. I mean, optometrists are doctors, but it's kind of well, you could or could not kind of thing. But how do you run an ER? How do you do surgery? What if there's somebody who needs really, really fast back surgery and their back is just fucked, and they just need to go get a surgery, one little thing, or do they just say no? Because even though they have masks and gloves and aprons and all that stuff, they're just no, it's transmittable on any surface, so we don't do that.
Yeah, I
so
would be curious
fascinating.
to know. I
Yeah,
would be
right?
curious to know that too. Maybe I should find a doctor or a surgeon to come on the podcast and talk about that, because that's the one kind of industry I haven't had anybody to talk to about. The medical industry, which is, perhaps the most important industry right now because of all this stuff that's going on. So maybe I'll reach out to a couple people and see if we can get a doctor on here.
Like, what about physicians? What about pediatrics? What do they do? What do they do? Like, they want to help no matter what, right? Because that's their creed, right? They're like, we protect people and we heal the people we can. What do they do? They exclusively see children. They can't, like, do they turn them away? Do physicians just go like, hey, no, sorry, we can't take your kid anymore. We can't even screen? Because there are people still screening. There are places you can go to make sure that you're, see whether or not you have it. But when you're constantly in contact, like, what's quarantine look like for you? Because that's so crazy. I didn't even think about that. That did not cross my mind. Because I also don't really interact with the medical world at all. But, or like people who just had operations or just had huge illnesses and they needed large amounts of antibiotics and things like that. Do they get things brought to them? Do they get infections because of certain things not being taken care of? Or can they catch it? Are they more at risk? That's fascinating. I'm down a rabbit hole.
So that was Jaime Bennington. Thank you, Jaime, for coming on the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed what he had to say and our little back and forth there. We kind of got off the topic of freelancing a little bit and started talking about like what's going on right now, just because it's happening all around us. So this is our way of like talking to each other as well, and communicating with my friends at the same time as figuring out what freelancers can be doing. So thank you guys for listening. And like I said at the beginning, if you want to jump around in this podcast, there are the time codes down in the description of this podcast. So if you want to listen to like a certain guest, you don't want to listen to the whole thing, you can jump around at your leisure. But let's continue and let's keep going and talk to our next guest. All right. Well, Jaime put the idea in my brain to get a medical professional on this podcast. So up next, we are talking to Jax, who is a caregiver for seniors. So I am super excited to hear what's going on in that world because they are, some of the most vulnerable when it comes to this virus. And so I'm curious to see what precautions they're taking and what things they need in a time like this. So Jax, can you please introduce yourself and what it is you do to the audience?
My name is Jax, and I'm a caregiver and senior helper. So I work with Home Instead, and we typically work with our clients to assist them in activities of daily living. So helping them during the night is mainly my job. I do overnights, and we go to various facilities like senior living facilities, rehab facilities, and most of the time we personally go into their home too. So we do all their basic needs.
What is this virus? What is going on in your world as far as this virus goes? How is it affecting your industry?
It's affecting us most in the lack of protective gear and supplies like gloves and masks and such, because on job you're technically supposed to wear gloves constantly. Everything going on, everybody's just buying out gloves. The facilities are running very low. Oftentimes there's none. I always keep an emergency pack on me, which is recommended, but a lot of places don't have the supplies we need. Like there's no tissues. They're running low on toiletries, bandaging, like everything is being just bought out by people. So we don't have the supplies we need to assist our clients. That's the biggest issue.
What are you guys focusing on right now, like during this time? Like, are you, for example, are you visiting less? Are you trying to visit more? Like, what are you guys doing in terms of like, quarantining, if anything?
I work with a senior in his own home. I work with another senior in a senior living facility, which is basically like a group home. And I also work with another senior that's in a rehab facility. the rehab facility has now basically locked down and banned anyone except for caregivers and medical staff to enter the premises. And when you do come, before you leave the front entrance, they basically make you sign a form that says that you understand with everything going on, why they need to do this, but they're starting to check temperatures, and you can't go further than the front desk without getting your temperature checked as well, and that's before you work and also before you leave. You have to check it. So I basically, this facility, I'll go to work, they'll stop me, have me sign this, take my temperature, put it on the document, and then I'll work my shift, and as I'm leaving, they'll do it again, and so on and so forth, basically. And that's with everybody, and the client's daughter is not allowed to visit her. She can't come in, she can call, but she is not allowed, basically, to be with her mother at all.
Wow. That is absolutely just, I mean, devastating, you know, but I understand it. I understand why we have to do this, you know. So is the government doing anything to help your industry out? And if not, what could they be doing?
There's always we're working on it and we'll do what we can, but it doesn't seem like much is being done besides making sure these places are on lockdown for the safety of the seniors and those that have compromised immune systems that could be affected the most by it. So I know there's another facility that is quarantined to the point that only medical staff is allowed to enter and leave. They can't really do much about the homes. So for now, the going to clients' homes is fine. But all the facilities basically have this lockdown in place. But there, again, the lack of supplies is an issue. So that's been a basic talking point for any of the meetings going on here about it to our governmental resources, and they say that they're working on it and they're trying to get it what we need, but it's just not in the time frame we need it. Like, we need it now, and it's months.
Like you needed it yesterday, type of situation.
Exactly. And I understand that everybody wants to be safe, and I understand that, but with because I cannot assist my client or touch my client in certain situations without gloves. If I don't have those gloves, I can't do anything for this client, even though it's my job, which makes me feel horrible, and the client's not going to be too happy. So it's like, we need these now. We either need the government to put something aside for the medical staff specifically, or just I honestly think the best thing would probably be limiting people on the amount of certain things that they would buy, which has already been started, but basically mostly medical items.
Well, hey, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast and share a little bit of insight into your industry. Typically, I talk to freelancers on this, but I really wanted to get somebody in the medical industry to kind of share what's going on there, just to kind of put this whole thing into perspective for us. There are some people that are stuck at home, but there are some people that are stuck, you know, taking care of other people. Not that I'm sure you love what you do, but still, I'm sure it's a lot of stress and it's a lot to handle right now. So thank you for doing what you do. I definitely appreciate it. As somebody with grandparents, like, I appreciate it a ton.
Oh yeah, and see, I actually live with my grandmother too, so when I get home, I have to completely disinfect, shower before I can even be around her, and even that, we're just doing little elbow touches. We can't really do anything. It's bad. It's pretty bad. And just the main thing is washing your hands and sneezing into your arm, trying not to spread things like that.
Jax, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your insight with everybody. I'm sure this is a very stressful time for medical staff, so we need to lift them up as much as we possibly can, and just remember to thank them. Thank you guys for what you do. We appreciate it. So this is the longest podcast that I have done so far. The other one that was almost as long would be the 100th episode, where we dove back into all of the past episodes that I loved. And so if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. leave a comment somewhere. Follow me on Instagram at Project Freelance. Just reach out to me. Let me know what you guys thought of it. If you guys have any feedback for me, hit me at contact@justtheletterk.com, or you can go to justtheletterk.com/contact, and you can fill out the form and you can message me through that. If you guys have any further questions about what you could be doing during this time, if you need resources, if you need somebody to listen to you, hit me up at justtheletterk.com/booking. We can book a Skype session, and I will help you guys out during this time as much as I possibly can. Thank you so much for listening to Project Freelance. There's also a blog that coincides with this episode. Go to justtheletterk.com/blog, or just go down in the description. There will be a link to it if you guys want to check out the blog post. Thank you for listening all the way through this episode of Project Freelance. I know we have a lot of time right now, so hopefully you listen to all 3 hours of this. I mean, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he'll go for three hours sometimes. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this and got a lot out of it. If you're a freelancer of any kind, I hope you got some tips from this. And I will talk to you guys next Monday on Project Freelance at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you again. You guys are the best. Stay strong, keep enduring, stay inside, and create something.